Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 81. Then seeing that the night in which had been performed the auspicious preliminary ceremonies was about to be spent, eulogists and genealogists hymned Bharata with consecrated hymns. And then sounded the kettle drum, beaten by a golden stick, announcing the departure of the night, and people sounded conchs and other instruments by hundreds furnished with soft and loud sounds. And as if filling the heavens, those powerful blasts of the trumpet repeatedly rendered Bharata burning in grief the more aggrieved. Then awaking and silencing those sounds with saying, I am not the king, he said unto Satrufna, Behold, O Satrufna, in what a mighty wrong the people are engaged, on account of Kaki. The king Dasaratha has gone away throwing down on me the burden of this misery. The royal grace founded in righteousness of that magnanimous and virtuous monarch is wandering even like a boat on water having no helmsman. And he who is our mighty master hath been banished into the woods by this mother of mine, who had, in doing so, renounced virtue. Seeing Bharata lamenting thus senseless, the ladies afflicted with sorrow began to wail in winsome accents. As Bharata was mourning thus, the highly famous and virtuous Vasishtha accompanied by his disciples entered the court of the Ikshwaku king, built of entire gold, charming, dazzling with gems and gold, like unto Siddharma itself. Sitting down on a golden seat furnished with an elegant cover, that one versed in all the Vedas commanded the envoys, saying, Do ye speedily with collected minds bring hither Brahmanas and Kshatriyas and warriors and counselors and generals of forces and Satrufna with the other princes, and the famous Bharata and Udhajit and Sumantra and others that are engaged in our welfare. Then there arose a mighty hubbub occasioned by people coming up in cars, horses, and elephants. And when Bharata arrived, the subjects rejoiced as they used to rejoice on Dasaratha's arrival, and as rejoiced the immortals on the arrival of him of 100 sacrifices. And then the court resembling a moveless ocean containing whales and serpents, and gems and conchs and gold mines, being graced with the presence of Dasaratha's son, looked splendid as it formerly did with that of Dasaratha himself. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 82. And then the intelligent Bharata surveyed that assembly filled with noble and worthy personages, resembling the night of the full moon. And that august assembly was ablaze with the brilliant hues proceeding from the attires of the honorable persons seated according to rank. And that splendid assembly filled with learned people looked like the night of the full moon after the clouds have dispersed. And seeing all the subjects of the sovereign gathered together, the priest cognizant of virtue Sophalti spoke unto Bharata, My child, leaving unto thee this prosperous earth abounding in corn and wealth, King Dasaratha having performed his duties, hath gone to heaven. And Rama of truthful character, observing the virtue of the righteous, hath not set aside his father's commands, even as the risen moon doth not renounce the moonlight. Loved by the courtiers, do thou, having been installed, enjoy this kingdom conferred on thee by thy father and mother, rid of its thorn. Let princes throned as well as those without thrones, from east and west, north and south, and also persons ranging the sea, procure countless gems for presenting them unto thee. Hearing this speech, Bharata cognizant of virtue, filled with sorrow, mentally repaired to Rama desirous of reaping merit. Then in words choked with the melodious voice of a swan, lamented and taxed the priest, in the midst of the assembly, who like myself ever deprives one that hath led a brahmacharya mode of life, that is endowed with understanding and performed his bath after having acquired learning, and that is always intent on righteousness, of one's kingdom? How begot of Dasaratha, shall I deprive Rama of his kingdom? It behoveth thee to speak righteousness before this assembly. Firstborn, and foremost in merit, righteous-souled, and comparable unto Dilapa and Nahusha, Kakutstha deserves the kingdom, just as Dasaratha did. If I commit myself to this sin dishonorable and calculated to bring me to perdition, I shall in this world bring disgrace on the race of the Ikshwakus. I do not at all relish the sin that has been committed by my mother. Remaining here with joined hands, I bow down unto Rama gone to the forest fastness. I will follow Rama. That best of men is the king. Raghava deserves the dominion of the three worlds themselves. Hearing those words informed with righteousness, the entire assembly with their minds intent upon Rama, from joy shed tears. If I fail to bring back the noble one from the forest, I will like the exalted Lakshmana remain even in that forest. I will in presence of this mixed assembly of pious and honorable persons following every perfection, adopt every expedient to bring back Rama. I have already dispatched beforehand persons serving for love as well as those for money, and layers of roads and their keepers, and I intend setting out now. Having said this, the virtuous Bharata attached unto his brother spoke to Sumantra skilled in counsel, who was by, saying, Up, and go, O Sumantra, at my command. Do thou make known this journey and bring the forces. Thus accosted by the magnanimous Bharata, Sumantra with a cheerful heart issued orders concerning everything desirable as he was ordered. Hearing that the army had been ordered to march forth for bringing back Rama, the subjects as well as the generals of the forces became exceedingly delighted. Hearing of the journey to Rama, for bringing him back, the wives of the soldiers, apprised of the order that had been issued to the latter, being exceedingly delighted, hurried on. And the generals expeditiously dispatched their forces with warriors by means of horses and carts and cars fleet as the mind. Seeing those forces marshaled, Bharata, staying near his preceptor, said unto Sumantra, who was at his side, Do thou speedily bring my car. In obedience to the mandate of Bharata, Sumantra, exceedingly rejoiced, appeared with the car yoked with superb steeds. Then that powerful descendant of Raghu of truthful character, and having unswerving truth for his prowess, Bharata, having said what was fit, spoke words calculated to gladden his illustrious superior, gone to the mighty forest. O Sumantra, arise thou speedily, and, thy desire fully attained, go by my command, and tell the chiefs of the army, and our principal adherents, to array the forces. Thereat rising, Ryanyas and Vaishyas, and Vrishalas, and Vipras in every house began to yoke camels and cars and mules and elephants and excellent steeds. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 83. Rising with the morrow, Bharata, anxious to behold Rama, speedily set out, ascending an excellent car. Before him went the counselors and priests, ascending cars resembling that of the sun yoked with steeds. And 1,000 elephants duly consecrated went in the wake of that son of the Ikshwaku line as he was proceeding. And 6,000 cars with bowmen furnished with various weapons followed the illustrious Prince Bharata as he was proceeding. And 100,000 horses mounted, by riders, went in the wake of that descendant of Raghu, intent upon truth and having his senses under control. And Kaikeyi and Sumitra and the highly famous Kausalya, rejoicing at the prospect of the bringing of Rama, went in an effulgent car. And the honorable persons, belonging to all the three orders, went with the object of beholding Rama in company with Lakshmana. And they with glad hearts variously conversed with each other, When shall we see the mighty armed Rama sabled like unto a cloud, of steady strength, firm in vows, the remover of the world's grief? As soon as we shall see him, Raghava will remove our sorrow, even as the sun arising dispels the darkness of the entire world. Thus cheerfully carrying on an auspicious talk, the citizens embracing each other went on. And all others, and the foremost merchants as well as all the principal classes, joyfully went in quest of Rama. And a number of gem-cutters, and goodly potters, weavers, and armorers, and peacock dancers, sawers, and perforators of gems, glassmakers, and workers in ivory, cooks, incense sellers, well-known goldsmiths, and wool manufacturers, bathers in tepid water, shampooers, physicians, makers of dupas, and wine sellers, washermen, and tailors, and actors in numbers with females, and kaivartas, and persons versed in Vedas having their minds in control, and brahmanas of reputed character, and persons well dressed and attired in pure habits, with their bodies daubed with coppery unguents, by thousands followed Bharata on carts. All these gradually followed Bharata by means of excellent vehicles. And the army, delighted and in high spirits, went in the wake of Kaikeyi's son, attached unto his brother, going to bring back his brother. Going far by means of cars, vehicles, elephants, and horses, they arrived at the Ganga near Sringavarapura, where was peacefully staying that friend of Rama, the heroic Guha, surrounded by his relatives, ruling the realm. Having come to the banks of the Ganga graced with Chakravakas, the army which was following Bharata halted. Seeing the army inactive as well as the Ganga, of sacred waters, Bharata, versed in speech, spoke unto the courtiers, Do you, communicating unto all our intentions, encamp the army? Having been fatigued, we shall cross the ocean-going Ganga, on the morrow. Having crossed the stream, I am anxious to offer its water unto the monarch, who has gone to heaven, in behalf of his spiritual body. When he had said this, the courtiers with collected minds saying, Be it so, disposed their forces, each according to his wish. Having on the mighty stream, Ganga, quartered his forces furnished with all appliances for the journey, Bharata remained there, revolving the means of making the high-souled Rama turn back. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 84. Seeing the forces with banners flying quartered on the banks of the river Ganga, and engaged in various occupations, the lord of the Nishadas, Guha, said unto his relatives ranged around, This mighty host here appeareth like an ocean. I do not find its end even by thinking of it in my mind. Surely the foolish Bharata hath come hither himself, on his car appears the huge Kovidara banner. Belike, he will either bind us by nooses or slay us, and next Dasaratha's son Rama banished from the kingdom by his sire. Desirous of taking complete possession of the rare regal fortune of that sovereign, Rama, Kaikeyi's son, Bharata, comes to destroy him. Rama the son of Dasaratha is both my maintainer and friend. Do ye in his interests, donning on your mail, wait on the banks of the river. And stationed on the river Ganga, let my powerful retainers subsisting on fruits and roots and meat, be prepared for opposing Bharata's passage over the river. And let hundreds upon hundreds of Kaivarta youths accoutred in mail remain in each of 500 barks. Guha issued this order. But if Bharata be well disposed towards Rama, this host shall today safely cross the Ganga. Having said this, the lord of the Nishadas, Guha, taking a present of flesh, fish, and honey, went out for interviewing Bharata. Seeing Guha approaching, the powerful son of the charioteer knowing season, humbly informed Bharata of it, saying, "This lord, that approaches, surrounded by his relatives, is very potent in Dandaka and is an old friend of your brother. Therefore let Guha, the lord of the Nishidas, see you, O Kakutstha. He indubitably knows where Rama and Lakshmana are." Hearing these wise words of Sumantra, Bharata at once said, "Let Guha see me." Receiving permission, Guha, right glad, appeared before Bharata, bending low, and said, "This place is thy home. But thou hast stolen a march over us. We dedicate all this unto thee. Do thou reside in the abode of thy servant? Here are fruits and roots gathered by the Nishadas, and meat dry and moist, and various other produces of the forest. I pray that entertained in various ways, and heartily partaking of meats and drinks, this army may spend the night here. Tomorrow morning thou wilt go along with thy forces." Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 85. Thus addressed, the exceedingly wise Bharata answered the lord of the Nishadas, in words fraught with sense and reason, "Thy great desire, O friend of my superior, is surely as good as attained, since thou of mighty energy hast set thy heart on entertaining my army." Having said these fair words unto Guha, the graceful and highly energetic Bharata again addressed the lord of Nishadas, "By what way shall I go to Bharadvaja's hermitage? These lands watered by the Gangt are dense and hard to track." Hearing these words of the intelligent son of the king, Guha, well acquainted with the forest, said with joined hands, "My servant well acquainted with the place shall attentively follow thee, and, O prince possessed of mighty strength, I myself will also walk in thy wake. But dost thou go after Rama of energetic acts with some evil intention? This vast force of thine riseth my apprehension." When Guha had asked this, Bharata with a presence unclouded like the sky, spoke unto Guha these sweet words, "May a time never come when I shall do wrong unto Raghava. It behoveth thee not to fear me. Raghava is my eldest brother dear unto me even as my sire himself. I go to make Kakutstha dwelling in the woods, turn back. Other intention cherish I none. O Guha, this I tell thee truly." Having heard Bharata's speech, Guha with a countenance lighted up with delight, again cheerfully addressed Bharata, saying, "Blessed art thou. Thy like find I none on earth, inasmuch as thou wishest to resign a kingdom that comes to thee without search. Thy eternal fame will certainly range this world, since thou wishest to bring back Rama passing through misfortune." As Guha was speaking thus unto Bharata, the sun became shorn of his splendor and night fell. Thereupon, having disposed his troops, the auspicious Bharata, gratified by Guha, went to bed along with Satrufna. Then arose thoughts of Rama in the mind of the magnanimous Bharata, ever having his gaze fixed on virtue and undeserving of hardship. Then even as a tree already heated by a forest fire burns with a fire hidden in its cavity, that descendant of Raghu began to burn with the fire of grief inflamed in his heart. And perspiration produced by the fire of sorrow issued out of all his limbs, as the Himavat heated by the solar warmth generates water. And Kakei's son was overpowered and drowned by the mountain of grief, having thoughts of Rama for its entire crags, sighs for its mineral substance, disgust with the avocations of life for its trees, mental feebleness through grief for its summits, stupor for the animals inhabiting it, and burning for its annual shrubs and bamboos. And sighing heavily with a heart oppressed with sorrow, well nigh deprived of consciousness, and involved in high peril, that best of men, oppressed by the fever of his heart, like unto a mighty leader of a herd, separated from it, did not attain peace of mind. Meeting with Guha, the magnanimous Bharata, accompanied by his people, engrossed with the thoughts of Rama, became oppressed with grief. Seeing this, Guha by and by encouraged Bharata concerning his elder brother. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 86. Guha, acquainted with the forest, described unto Bharata of immeasurable prowess the regard the high-souled Lakshmana bore unto Rama. To Lakshmana crowned with every virtue, waking up, holding the bow with the arrow fixed on it for the purpose of guarding well his brother, I said, "This easeful bed has been prepared for thee, my child. O son of Raghu's descendant, cheer up. Do thou lie down at ease. All these people can bear hardship, but thou art meant for comfort. For protecting him religiously, we shall wake. To me also there is none that is dearer on earth than Rama. Do not be anxious. This I tell thee truly, through his grace I expect high fame among men, and immense religious merit, and interest and desire in entirety. Bow in hand I shall along with my kin protect Rama lying down with Sita. To me always ranging in this forest, nothing whatever is unknown. I can even cope in battle with an army of fourfold forces. Thus accosted by us, the magnanimous Lakshmana, with his gaze ever fixed on virtue, humbly observed, "How, Dasaratha's son, sleeping on the earth with Sita, can I attain sleep, or life, or happiness? How see him who is capable of bearing in battle the onslaught of the gods and the Asuras combined, sleeping in a cave on grass? It is by virtue of mighty austerities and uncommon exertions that Dasaratha has obtained this son of his crown with every auspicious sign. He being banished, the king shall not live long, and the earth shall certainly be widowed soon." Having bewailed aloud, by this time have the women got exhausted, and surely the king's mansion is today still. I do not expect that either Kausalya or the king or my mother is alive. If they live, it can be for this night only. Even if my mother live, seeing Satrufna, that mother of a hero, the afflicted Kausalya will, surely, resign her existence, saying, all is lost, with his desire unattained, my father having failed to install Rama in the kingdom, will resign his existence. Blessed are they that when the time shall come for the same, shall perform the funeral ceremonies of the king my deceased sire. Then shall they with happy hearts range the metropolis of my father, furnished with fair-looking terraces, with the highways laid out orderly, crowned with lordly edifices, adorned with various gems, crowded by cars and elephants and horses, resounding with the notes of trumpets, abounding in auspicious things, filled with fat and contented people, having gardens and pleasure houses, and possessed of divers classes of men indulging festal mirth. Shall we, on the occasion of Rama's return, with glad hearts peacefully enter the city in company with that one firm in his promise? As the magnanimous son of the king was thus lamenting, the night passed away. In the morning, with an unclouded sun, both, having made matted locks on the banks of the Bhagirathi, crossed the river along with me. Wearing matted locks and clad in barks of trees, those persons possessed of mighty strength, like unto leaders of elephant herds, equipped with excellent arrows and quivers and bows, those repressors of foes, expecting their return from exile, departed with Sita. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 87. Hearing the words of Guha, exceedingly unpleasant, Bharata, as soon as he heard them, became plunged in thought. And then taking heart for a while, that tender-framed one possessed of immense strength, gifted with leonine shoulders and length of arms, having expansive eyes resembling white lotuses, young in years, and endowed with a handsome presence, affected with great grief, was overpowered, like an elephant wounded in the heart with a goad. Seeing Bharata deprived of his senses with his countenance covered with pallor, Guha became exceedingly agitated, like a tree during an earthquake. Seeing Bharata in that condition, Satrufna, who was near, taking the former on his lap, began to cry, almost deprived of his senses and oppressed with grief. Thereat, all the mothers of Bharata, fasting, undergoing distress, and afflicted with the calamity that had befallen their lord, came forward, and surrounding Bharata, began to lament him fallen on the ground. And the distressed Kausalya, drawing nigh, embraced him like a cow approaching her calf, and weeping from excess of grief, spoke unto Bharata, saying, My son, doth any malady afflict thy body? Now the life of this royal race is, without doubt, in thy hands. Rama having gone away along with his brother, I shall, O son, live, seeing thee. King Dasaratha having departed this life, thou alone art our lord. Hast thou, my son, heard anything unpleasant concerning Lakshmana, or the son of that one having an only son, who has gone to the forest along with his wife? Having taken comfort for a while, that one of high fame weeping, and solacing Kausalya, spoke unto Guha, saying, Where did my brother pass the night? And where did Sita? And where did, again, Lakshmana? And in what bed did he sleep, and what did he previously partake of? Do thou, O Guha, tell me this. Thereat, well pleased, Guha, the lord of Nishadas, related unto Bharata how he had acted in respect of Rama, his dear guest, studious of his welfare. I procured for Rama's use rice and fruits and roots and various kinds of food. All these Rama having truth for his prowess accepted, but observing Kshatriya morality, he did not take them. O friend, we ought not to take anything, ours is always to give. Thus did that magnanimous one beseech us. On the high-souled Lakshmana bringing water, Raghava having drunk it, fasted along with Sita. Then Lakshmana drank up the water that remained. Then the three with fixed minds silently performed their adorations unto the twilight. After that, Sumitra's son prepared a goodly bed for Raghava, himself bringing kusa grass. And in that bed lay down Rama in company with Sita. Next washing their feet, Lakshmana turned away. This is the foot of the Angudi, and this that grass. On it both Rama and Sita lay down that night, fastening on his back a pair of quivers filled with arrows, furnished with finger fences, and taking his mighty bow, Lakshmana all night kept watch around. I also, taking an excellent bow, remained where remained Lakshmana, and surrounded by my kindred, who stayed there vigilantly, equipped with bows, guarded him that resembled the mighty Indra. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 88. Having heard everything, Bharata in company with the counselors went to the foot of the Angudi tree, and saw the bed of Rama. And he said unto his mothers, that high-souled one lay down here on the ground during the night, and his limbs pressed this spot. Begot of that foremost of monarchs, the exalted and intelligent Dasaratha, Rama does not deserve to sleep on the earth. How can that chief of men, having reposed in beds furnished with pillows made of deerskins, and having superb cloths, have lain down on the earth? Always reposing in mansions and in upper apartments paved with silver and gold, and supplied with excellent bedcloths, decked with heaps of flowers, perfumed with sandal and aguru, hued like unto pale clouds, resonant with the notes of many parrots, and palaces going before the choicest of their class, ringing with music, and perfumed, like unto Meru itself, with their bases composed of gold. Rama used to be awakened with vocal and instrumental music, the tinklings of elegant ornaments, and the peals of goodly mridangas, that subduer of foes, being in due season hymned by the eulogists, and friends, bards, and genealogists, with worthy ballads and panegyrics. This assertion of Rama's lying down on the ground appears to me incredible. It doth by no means look unto me like truth. Forsooth, I am amazed. I take it, this is a vision. Verily, no destiny is superior to time, since Dasaratha's son, Rama himself, had to repose on the earth, and the beauteous beloved daughter of Videha's king, and the daughter-in-law of Dasaratha, had to lie down on the ground. This was the bed of my brother. On this hard spot did he turn his lovely limbs, and this grass was pressed by them. I think that the graceful Sita adorned with ornaments slept in this bed, for here and there are scattered particles of gold. It is clear that Sita had spread her sheet at this spot, hence it is that fibers of silk are discoverable here. I deem that the bed of her lord appeareth agreeable unto a wife, since a girl tender and in affliction, the chaste daughter of Mithila, experienced no inconvenience, and sleeping in one such. Ah, I am undone. Baleful am I, for it is on my account that Raghava along with his wife lay down in such a bed, like one forlorn. Born in the imperial race, and capable of conferring happiness on all, the bringer about of all good, why did Raghava of dark blue hue like that of a lotus, graceful, and crowned with red eyes, the inheritor of happiness and undeserving of misery, having left his dear consummate kingdom, lie down on the ground? Surely the mighty-armed Lakshmana, graced with auspicious marks, is blessed, he who in the time of dire adversity followeth his brother Rama. And blessed is Videha's daughter, who followeth her husband into the woods. Bereft of that magnanimous one, we have all been brought into jeopardy. The earth without her helmsman seemeth me quite empty, on Dasaratha having ascended the celestial regions, and Rama taken refuge in the wilderness. On Rama having set up his dwelling in the forest, one, like me, doth not even mentally covet this earth which had been protected by the immense prowess of Raghava. With her walls undefended, her horses and elephants unrestrained, and her gates left open, the defenseless metropolis, deprived of her power, placed in peril and without any protection, is surely not regarded by the enemies like food mixed with poison. From this day forth I will lie down on the ground, or on the grass, daily subsisting on fruits and roots, and bearing matted locks and a cloth of bark. And for his sake I will in future live happily in the woods. By my doing so, the promise of that high-minded one shall not be rendered null. Me residing in the forest in the interests of my brother, Satrughna shall bear company, while my noble one will rule Ayodhya, assisted by Lakshmana. The twice-born ones will sprinkle Kakutstha in Ayodhya. May the deities realize this desire of mine. Propitiated by me personally in various ways with bent head, if he do not consent, then shall I ever stay with Raghava in the woods. Surely he cannot long persist in putting me off. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 89. Having spent the night there on the banks of the Ganga, that descendant of Raghu, rising early in the morning, said these words unto Satrughna, O Satrughna, arise. Why sleepest thou? Bring thou at once that lord of the Nishadas, Guha. Good betide thee. He will take the army over the stream. Thus urged by his brother, Satrughna said, thinking of that noble one, Rama, I have not slept, but have remained awake in a like manner. As those chiefs of men were thus conversing with each other, Guha, appearing in time with joined hands, remarked, O Kakutstha, hast thou spent the night happily on the banks of the river? And is it continuous good fortune with thee along with thy forces? Hearing Guha's speech fraught with affection, Bharata, ever obedient unto Rarya, spoke on his part, saying, Happily have we spent the night, and we have also been well received by thee. Now let thy servants take us over by means of many boats. Thereat, bearing Bharata's mandate, Guha, bestirring himself, re-entered the city and addressed his kinsfolk, saying, Arise ye. Awake. May good always attend you. Do ye draw up the boats, I shall ferry the forces over. Thus asked, they arising and bestirring themselves in consequence of the king's command, brought up 500 boats around. Others also known by the name of swastika, bearing large bells on their prows, and banners, well decked out, furnished with oars, and manned by bargemen, with their joints firmly constructed, were brought up. And Guha himself brought a graceful barge called swastika, covered with pale woolen cloth, and resounding with music. On this boat ascended Bharata, the mighty Satrufna, Kausalya, Sumitra, and other wives of the king. The priests and preceptors belonging unto the Brahmana order had already ascended. After Bharata and others had got up, ascended the wives of auxiliary princes, and cars and provisions were got on board. And the uproar consequent on the troops burning down dwellings, pressing down descents unto the river, and loading goods, spread on all sides. Then those boats hung with pennons, managed by the kinsfolk of Guha, set off at speed with the teeming folks that had got on board. And some of these were filled with women, and some with horses, and some conveyed cars and cattle of great value. And going to the other bank and landing the crowds on the store, the friends and slaves of Guha, while returning, displayed various movements of the boats. And elephants graced with flags being spurred on by their riders, began to cross the stream, appearing like so many winged hills. Others ascended boats, and others crossed on rafts, others crossed by means of reverse pitchers, and others by their arms alone. Ferried over the Ganga by the servants of Guha, that beautiful army graced with streamers, at the third Muhurta arrived at the romantic woods of Prayaga. Having made the army take rest at its ease, and encamped it, at the woods of Prayaga, that magnanimous one, Bharata, for the purpose of seeing the asylum of the ascetic Bharadvaja, went thither, accompanied by Ritwijas and Sadasyas. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 90. Having arrived at the neighborhood of Bharadvaja asylum, that foremost of men while it was Akroka, to the destination, left his forces behind and went thither, accompanied by his counselors alone. And leaving his attire and arms, and clad in a silk cloth, that pious one placing the priest in front, went on foot. Then with the view of seeing Bharadvaja, that descendant of Raghu leaving behind the counselors also, went in the wake of the priest. As soon as Bharadvaja of rigid austerity saw Vasishtha, he at once rose from his seat, saying unto his disciples Aragya. On being called upon by Vasishtha, that highly energetic one understood that it was Dasaratha's son. Having offered them, the guests, water to wash their feet and Aragya, as well as fruits subsequently, that virtuous one, Bharadvaja, successively inquired after the welfare of their respective homes, and after that, of the forces, exchequer, friends and counselors in Ayodhya. And knowing that Dasaratha had departed this life, he did not ask anything relating to the monarch. Then Vasishtha and Bharata questioned him as to his welfare in relation to the body, the sacrificial, fire, the trees, the beasts and the birds, of the hermitage. To all this returning so it is, the illustrious Bharadvaja from affection for Raghav said unto Bharata, What is the use of thy visit here, seeing that thou art engaged in the task of governing the kingdom? Do thou relate all this unto me, my mind is ill at ease. That slayer of foes, and perpetuator of his race who hath been born by Kausalya, and who along with his wife and brother hath been banished to the woods for a long term, that illustrious one who enjoying by his sire in the interests of a woman, hath become an inhabitant of the woods for 14 years, dost thou, desirous of securely enjoying the kingdom belonging to him as well to his younger brother, intend to do any harm unto that sinless one? Thus accosted, Bharata replied unto Bharadvaja with tears filling his eyes and his words choked with grief, Undone am I if the reverend one also deems me so. Do not apprehend any wrong from me, and do thou not reproach me thus. Whatever my mother has said in relation to me, does not express my wish. I am not satisfied with that, nor do I endorse her speech. I, intending to pacify him, am going to that chief of men, with the view of taking him unto Ayodhya and of paying homage unto his feet. Thinking me is already gone, thou shouldst show thy favor unto me. O revered sir, tell me where stayeth at present Rama, lord of the earth. Besought by Vasishtha and the other Ritwijas, the venerable Bharadvaja well pleased, spoke unto Bharata, O foremost man, even this is worthy of thee. Serving superiors, restraint of the senses, and following the pious, are ever found in one sprung in the Raghava line. I know that even this is thy intention, but for the purpose of making thy mind all the firmer, I had asked thee in this wise, so that thy fame might greatly increase. I also know the righteous Rama with Sita and Lakshmana. This brother of thine at present stays at the mighty mountain Chitrakuta. On the morrow thou wilt set out for that Ragan. Do thou today sojourn here along with thy counselors. O wise one, do this at thy pleasure, O thou understanding interest and desire. Thereat the gentle-looking and highly famous one said, Be it so, and the king's son made up his mind to spend the night in the great hermitage of the saint. Ramayana, Kanda 2, section 91. Then the ascetic asked Bharata, the son of Kakeyi, when he had decided for staying there, to receive his hospitality. Thereat Bharata said, Thou hast for certain done this, hast offered me water for washing my feet, Ayodhya, and hospitality with what can be procured in the forest. Then Bharadvaja, as if in jest, said unto Bharata, I know thee to be of a complacent disposition, and that thou art pleased with anything and everything. But I wish to feast thy forces. And, O best of men, it behoves thee to act in harmony with my desire. Why didst thou coming hither, leave thy army at a distance? And, thou man of men, why didst thou not come accompanied with thy forces? Bharata replied unto him, saying, I had not come accompanied with my forces, from fear of thee, O reverend sir. O worshipful one, kings and their sons should always carefully avoid the regions of ascetics. Choice steeds, men, and mad elephants of the best kind, covering a spacious tract of country, come in my train, respected sir. That these might not injure trees, or water, or the grounds of the cottages pertaining to the asylums, have I come hither alone. Bring the forces here. Thus desired by the mighty ascetic, Bharata accordingly caused the troops to be brought in. Then entering the chamber of the sacrificial fire, Bharadvaja, having sipped water and rubbed his lips therewith, invoked Viswakarma for the purpose of entertaining his guest. I invoke Viswakarma, even Twastri himself. I wish to entertain guests. Let him accomplish this for me. I invoke the three guardians of the worlds, gods headed by Sakra. I wish to entertain guests. Let them accomplish this for me. Let those rivers that flow westwards, and those that move tortuously on the earth and in the sky, come hither in a body. And let others run Maria, and others refined wine, and others again cool waters resembling the juice of the sugar cane. I invoke the celestials, and the Gandharbas, and Viswavesu, and Haha, and Huhu, and also the divine Apsaras, and Gandharbis all, and Gritachi, Viswachi, Misrakizi, and Alamvasha, and Nagadatta, and Hema, and Soma, residing in the mountain, and those ladies that attend Sakra, and those that attend Brahma. I invoke all these females well attired, in company with Tumvaru. And let that beautiful forest of Kuvara in the north Kuru, having its foliage resembling attires and ornaments, and its fruits debonair damsels, exist even at this very spot. And here let the worshipful Soma yield me excellent viands of diverse kinds and plenty, things that may be eaten or enjoyed, sucked or licked, and variegated blossoms growing in the trees, and wines and other drinks, and meats of various kinds. Thus, furnished with unrivaled ascetic energy, did that anchoret observing excellent vows, express himself orthoepically in consonance with Siksha. And as he sat with joined hands facing the west with a rapt mind, there came separately all those deities. And then touching Malaya and Dardura, and laden with perfumes, a delicious and welcome wind began to blow delightfully, removing sweat. And the clouds poured down a pleasant shower of blossoms, and from all sides were heard sounds of celestial kettle drums. And a rare breeze set in, and the multitudes of Apsaras danced, and the celestials and the Gandharbas sang, and the Venas let out their notes. And the dulcet sounds high and low furnished with sama and measure, entered the earth and the firmament in the ears of all creatures. When that celestial symphony, delightful unto the ears of men, had thus developed itself, Bharata's forces saw the workmanship of Viswakarma. That spot widening into a level plain measuring 5 yojanas was covered with thick grass resembling blue lapises. And on it stood vilwas, and kapithwas, panasas, citrons, and amalakas, and mangoes, embellished with fruits. From the north Kuru had spread a wood capable of conferring every enjoyment, and a beautiful river coursed through bordered by many a tree. And there had arisen white edifices having 4 divisions, and stables for horses and elephants, and grand gateways belonging unto palaces and mansions, and royal residences with graceful gates, resembling white clouds, bearing white garlands and washed with fragrant waters, having 4 corners, and spacious, fitted up with beds, seats, and vehicles, having every kind of excellent sapid food, stocked with excellent edibles and apparels, having every variety of food, possessing washed and bright vessels, with every description of seats, graceful, and accommodated with choice beds with coverlets. Permitted by the Maharshi, Kakeyi's son, Bharata, entered that mansion abounding in gems. And he was followed by the counselors and the priests, and the latter beholding the arrangements of the palace, were filled with delight. And Bharata in company with the counselors there went round the august royal seat, the chowry and the umbrella, worthy of a king. And having bowed down unto Rama, he worshipped that seat. And then holding the chowry of hair, he sat down on the seat of a minister. Then the counselors and priests seated themselves according to rank. And thereafter the general and the protector of the encampment got themselves seated. Then at Bharadvaja's command, came into being near Bharata streams having payaka for their slime. And at the pleasure of the Brahmana, on both their banks arose charming dwellings, covered with pale clay. And at that very moment there came 20,000 women commissioned by Brahma, adorned with divine ornaments. And there came also 20,000 females sent by Kuvera, decked out in gold and gems, pearls and corals. The sight of these was capable of filling men's minds with enchanting ravishment. And there came from Indana 20,000 damsels, and Nirada and Tumvaru and Gopa, resembling the sun in splendor. The Gandharva kings began to sing before Bharata. And Alamvasha, and Migrakisi, and Pundarika, and Vamana danced before Bharata, at the command of Bharadvaja. And those blossoms that are in the celestial regions, and that bloom in the forest of Chitraratha, became visible in Prayaga at the energy of Bharadvaja. And Vilwas did the office of players on the mridanga, and Vibhatakas, that of keepers of Soma, and Aswathas became dancers at the energy of Bharadvaja. And Saralas, Talas, Thilikas, and Tamilas, being delighted, became humpbacked ones and dwarfs. And Sansapas, Amalakis, Jamvis, and other plants of the forest, wearing the forms of females, stood at the mansion of Bharadvaja. Let wine drinkers drink wine, the hungry eat payasa, and those that are inclined to it, feed on clean meat. And every 7 or 8 females taking a man, bathed him on the lovely banks of the rivers. And damsels furnished with expansive eyes, having wiped the persons of the bathers, pressed their legs, and those magnificent women made them drink wine. And the keepers duly fed excellent horses, elephants, camels, and Saravi's sons, oxen, with their proper food. And some persons possessed of mighty strength, being directed thereto, fed the bearers of the foremost Ikshwaku warriors with sugar canes, honey, and fried patty. And the groom forgot his horse, and the elephant keeper his elephant. That army there became transported with wine and exhilaration. And sumptuously entertained with every enjoyment, with their bodies decked with red sandal, the soldiery in the company of bevies of Apsaras, exclaimed, To Ayodhya will we not go, nor yet to Dandaka. Peace be unto Bharata, and may Rama reap happiness. Thus did footmen and the riders and keepers of elephants and horses, as well as others, having experienced such a state, utter words. And men by thousands, exceedingly delighted, sent up shouts. And saying, This is heaven, the retinue of Bharata, the soldiers, began to dance and laugh and sing, and bearing garlands, they on all sides rushed by thousands. And beholding the inviting viands resembling ambrosia, they, although already fed, became desirous of eating once again. And wearing new clothes, all the servant, and maids, and females of the household, became exceedingly well pleased. And elephants, and asses, camels, kine and horses, and beasts and birds, being fed their fill, did not hunger after anything else. And there appeared no one who wore a soiled habit, or who was hungry, or melancholy, or whose hair was covered with dust. And the people with wonder beheld before them vessels of precious metals by thousands graced with chaplets of flowers, filled with essences of fruits and fragrant soups and curries, and the flesh of goats and bears, and white rice. And there were on the skirts of the wood wells having payasa for their slime, and the kine yielded whatever was asked, and all the trees dropped honey. And the tanks were filled with maria, as well as with clean hot meat of deer, peacocks, and cocks, dressed in pans. And there were rice holders by thousands, and curry pots by 100,000s, and golden vessels by arvutas. And there were pitchers and water pots and cleaned vessels for churning curd, filled with the same. And there were tanks of savory and yellow buttermilk, well tempered. And there were tanks filled with rasala, and others filled with milk, and with sugar. And men saw sediments, acrid powders, and various other things in vessels, or the purpose of bath, on the terraces of tanks, and tooth-cleaning sticks of unsuman and other trees, and white sandal paste lying before, and clean mirrors, and lots of cloths, and sandals, and shoes in pairs by thousands, and collyrium pots, and combs, and brushes, and bows at some places, and mail, and various kinds of seats and beds. And they saw reservoirs for asses, camels, elephants, and horses, with easy descents, filled with water to assist their digestion, and pools furnished with lotuses, of the hue of the firmament, with transparent water, comfortable for ablutions, and tender, plots of grass all around colored like blue lapises, to serve as pasture for beasts. Witnessing the wonderful hospitality provided by the Maharshi Bharadvaja, like unto a vision, the men marveled. Thus entertained like unto celestials in Nindana, they passed the night at the hermitage of Bharadvaja. Then taking the permission of Bharadvaja, all the Gandharvas as well as the superb damsels went away as they had come. And the men remained intoxicated and highly inebriated with the liquor, their persons daubed with goodly aguru and sandal, and the various elegant garlands beautiful to behold, lay by themselves all around, crushed by the people. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 92. Having passed that night, Bharata, having been entertained along with his family, appeared before Bharadvaja, desirous of seeing Rama. Seeing that foremost of men, standing, with joined hands, Bharadvaja, who had just finished his fire sacrifice, said, "Hast thou passed the night pleasantly at our place? And have all thy men been pleased with our hospitality? Do thou tell me this, O sinless one." Thereupon, Bharata, bowing down, with joined hands, said unto that ascetic of excellent energy, as he had issued out of his hermitage, "O reverend sire, I along with all my forces and vehicles have passed the night happily. I have been full well entertained by thee, O worshipful one possessed of power. And with our languor and heat removed, we all sumptuously feasted and comfortably quartered, have passed the night agreeably along with our servants. Now, O best of ascetics, I beseech thee to look with a propitious eye on me who am bound for my brother's place. And tell me, O thou cognizant of morality, how far is it unto that high-souled righteous one's asylum, and by what way shall I reach there?" When Bharata, eager to see his brother, had asked thus, the highly energetic Bharadvaja of rigid austerities answered, "O Bharata, 2.5 yojanas hence, embosomed in a tenantless wood, is the mountain Chitrakuta, charming with rocks and woods. On its northern border flows the river Mandakini, covered with flowering trees and with blossoming woods. Beyond the stream is the mountain Chitrakuta. There is their thatched cottage, my child, there they abide for certain. Proceeding by the southern way, do thou with thy forces composed of elephants and horses, O master of the army, turn to the left, O exalted one, and go southwards. By doing so, thou wilt be able to see Raghava." Hearing of their departure, the wives of that king of kings, leaving their cars, albeit worthy of them, gathered round the Brahmana. Lean and trembling and in woeful guise, Kausalya along with the noble Sumitra, with her hands took the feet of the ascetic. Despised universally because of her unrighteous desire, Kaikeyi also bashfully took hold of his feet, and, having circumambulated the mighty and venerable anchoret, stood near Bharata in dejection of spirits. Then the mighty ascetic Bharadvaja asked Bharata, "O descendant of Raghu, I wish to know particularly about thy mothers." Thus accosted by Bharadvaja, the pious Bharata, deft in speech, said with joined hands, "O reverend sir, she whom thou beholdest depressed and emaciated through grief and fasting, resembling a very goddess, is the noble queen of my father. This one, Kausalya, it is that gave birth unto that chief of men, having the powerful gait of a lion, Rama, even as Aditi gave birth to Dutt. She that stands at her left hand, in dejected guise, is the noble Sumitra afflicted with sorrow, the second wife of the monarch, like a carnicora bough in a forest, with all its blossoms shriveled up. The sons of this exalted lady are the youthful and heroic Lakshmana and Satrufna, having truth for their prowess, and resembling celestials in shape. And her, in consequence of whose act those foremost of men have come by crushing misfortune, and the king Dasaratha hath gone to heaven, deprived of his son, wrathful and proud of her good fortune, setting her heart on wealth, Kaikeyi, dishonorable, although endowed with the semblance of honor, do thou know this wicked one intent on sin as my mother? In her do I perceive the root of my mighty misfortune." Having said this, with his words choked with emotion, that best of men with his eyes reddened, sighed like an enraged serpent. As Bharata was speaking thus, the great ascetic Bharadvaja, gifted with high understanding and knowing interest, answered Bharata, saying, "O Bharata, thou ought not to cast any blame on Kaikeyi. This banishment of the king, Rama, shall be for the good of all. The banishment of Rama shall surely be for the welfare of the gods and the asuras and sages of concentrated souls." Thus blessed, Bharata saluted the ascetic and went round him, and then summoning the soldiery, said, "Yoke." Thereupon, getting ready excellent steeds and cars decked with gold, many people mounted, with the intention of departing. And male and female elephants with golden chains round their necks, and furnished with banners, with the sounds of bells, proceeded, like clouds at the end of the summer season. And then proceeded various kinds of cars great and light of movement and of high value, and the infantry went on foot. And on a magnificent car went the ladies headed by Kausalya, with delighted hearts, eager to see Raghava. And ascending an elegant car resembling the infant sun or moon, driven by charioteers, went the graceful Bharata well attired. And that mighty host abounding with horses and elephants proceeded, blocking up the southern quarter, like a colossal cloud arisen in the sky, leaving behind on the other bank of the Ganga woods, inhabited by birds and beast asterisk and coursing by rivers and mountains. And composed of numbers of elephants and horses in high spirits, that army of Bharata, frightening multitudes of beasts and birds, dived into that mighty forest. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 93. Afflicted by the mighty force on its way with banners, displayed, those inhabitants of the woods, leaders of elephant herds, took to their heels in company with the herds themselves. And bears and prashadas and ruers were on all sides seen in the forest ways, and on hills and rivers. And that virtuous son of Dasaratha with a glad heart held on his way, surrounded by that vast army consisting of fourfold forces, raising a tremendous uproar. And that army of the high-souled Bharata, resembling the waves of the ocean, covered the earth quite, as clouds in the rainy season cover the welkin. And filled with steeds and mighty elephants, the earth at that time for a long while remained invisible. And having proceeded a long way, the graceful Bharata, with his bearers extremely tired, said these words unto that foremost of counselors, Vasishtha, from appearances, and from what I had heard, it is evident that we have arrived at that region which Bharadvaja had told us of. This is the mountain Chitrakuta, and that the river Mandakini. And from a distance this forest appeareth like dark clouds. And now our elephants resembling hills afflict the romantic sides of Chitrakuta. And the trees scatter blossoms over the sides of the mountain, even as after summer sable clouds pour down showers. O Satrufna, behold the realms inhabited by Kinaras, scattered with steeds, like the main with Makaras. And these herds of deer furnished with celerity, being urged on, roam about like masses of clouds in the sky in autumn, propelled by the winds. And like the people of the south, these warriors bearing shields resembling clouds, are adorning their heads with ornaments of perfumed blossoms. And this forest, although void of men and dreadful in appearance, at present appeareth unto me like Ayodhya, teeming with people. The dust raised by the hoofs of horses stands covering the sky, anon the wind bearing it away, compasses my pleasure. And, O Satrufna, see how fast these cars yoked with steeds and driven by skillful charioteers, are proceeding in the forest. And behold these beauteous peacocks, which, being frightened, take refuge in the mountain, the home of feathered tribes. This country appears to me exceedingly lovely. This abode of the ascetics is like unto the way to heaven itself. Male and female deer and prashadas in the forest, beautiful to look at, appear as if variegated with flowers. Now let the soldiers go advisedly and search this forest, so that they light upon those chiefs of men, Rama and Lakshmana. Hearing Bharata's speech, persons with weapons in their hands plunged into the forest, and those heroes presently discovered the top of a column of smoke. Having seen the top of the column of smoke, they came before Bharata and said, Fire cannot exist where there is no man present. Therefore it is evident that even here are those descendants of Raghu. But if those foremost of men, those subduers of their enemies, the princes, be not here, there are others, being ascetics, resembling Rama. Hearing their words acceptable unto the pious, that afflictor of hostile ranks, Bharata said unto the entire army, Do ye carefully stay here, do not proceed further. I myself will go, and Sumantra and Dirty. Thus desired, the troops remained all about that place. Bharata went away, keeping his gaze fixed in the direction of the top of the column of smoke. Desired by Bharata to halt, that army, looking in the direction of the smoke, rejoiced soon on learning that the beloved Rama had arrived at that place. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 94. Having spent a long time in that mountain, that lover of hills and woods, Dasaratha's son, resembling an immortal, anxious to pleasure Vaidehi as well as to please his own mind, showed the variegated Chitrakuta unto his wife, like Purandara unto Sachi. O gentle one, neither deprivation of the kingdom nor separation from friends afflicts my mind on beholding this romantic mountain. My gentle one, look but at the hill abounding with flocks of various birds, adorned with summits cleaving the welkin and teeming with mineral substances. And some parts of this monarch of mountains are like silver, and some are blood-red, and some yellow like the hue of Manjastha, and some lustrous like sapphires, and some shining like blossoms or crystal or katakas, and some blazing like stars or mercury, and some dyed in mineral substances. And the mountain shines, being filled with divers beasts and multitudes of innocuous tigers, hyenas and bears, and thronged with innumerable birds. And overspread with mangoes, rose apples, and asanas, and lodras, pyalas, jacks, and kolas, and baviatinuses, and vilwas, and tendukas, and bamboos, kesmaris, arishtas, and varanas, and madukas, sesames, and jujubes, and amalakas, nipas, canes, damwanas, and citrons, all in full flower, and bearing fruits, umbrageous and charming, the mountain attains an accession of loveliness. And, thou gentle one, on the picturesque plateau of the hill behold these intelligent couples of Kinaras engaged in sport at spots yielding every enjoyment, and look at their swords hung up on the boughs. And see the gorgeous apparel of Vidyadharis, as well as the charming regions in which they sport. And like an elephant dropping the temporal juice, this hill appeareth beautiful with cascades, fountains and rillets, flowing here and there. Whom doth not the breeze laden with the perfumes of many a flower, soothing the sense of smell, fill with delight? If, O blameless one, I dwell here for many years with thee as well as Lakshmana, grief cannot overcome me. O damsel, I take delight in this picturesque peak abounding in flowers and fruits, and frequented by various birds. By this banishment of mine, I have gained two things. My father has maintained his truth in religion, and Bharata has obtained his dear interest. O daughter of Videha, art thou being pleased on viewing along with me on Chitrakuta various objects grateful unto mind, speech, and body? O queen, this abode in the forest like unto ambrosia hath been declared by those royal saints, my ancestors, as working out one's emancipation after death. The giant crags of the mountain grace the place all round by hundreds, many and various-hued, blue and yellow, pale and red. In the night, the annual herbs by thousands growing on this foremost of hills shine and become visible by their own luster, like flames of fire. And, O lady, some parts of the mountain appear like dwellings, and some like gardens, and some, again, consist of single rocks, capable of accommodating numbers of men. And Chitrakuta looks as if it had arisen, riving the earth, and the fair front of Chitrakuta can be perceived from every point. Behold the beds of pleasure-seekers, consisting of the petals of lotuses, with stagaras, panagas, and buryapatras for their coverlets. And, my wife, behold these lotus garlands have been crushed and scattered, and the various fruits have been partaken of. The mountain Chitrakuta, abounding in fruits and roots and waters, surpasses Kuvera's capital or Sakra's city or the North Kurus. My wife, O Sita, if in consonance with my own excellent rules, I can, remaining in the path of the pious, pleasantly pass this time along with thyself and Lakshmana, then I shall attain the happiness resulting from observing the duties of one's race. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 95. Then going out of the mountain, the Lord of Kosala showed unto Mithila's daughter the charming stream Mandakini of excellent waters. And Rama, furnished with eyes resembling lotuses, addressed the daughter of King Videha, transcendently beautiful, with a countenance like the fair moon, saying, Behold the river Mandakini, having variegated islets beautiful, frequented by ducks and cranes, and filled with flowers, covered with diverse trees bearing fruits and flowers, and looking graceful all round like Saugandika herself of Kuvera. And the waters rendered muddy in consequence of herds of deer drinking of them, as well as the graceful descents unto the river, fill me with pleasure. And, my beloved, sages wearing matted locks and deerskins, with barks for their sheets, are in season performing their ablutions in the river Mandakini. And observing rules, persons raising up their arms, are worshipping the sun, and, O thou of expansive eyes, after these appear ascetics following vows, engaged in japa. And the hill seems to dance on the wind swaying the tops of trees, and on both sides of the river, the trees are crowned with flowers and leaves. And behold the river Mandakini, somewhere with its waters resembling pearls, and somewhere with islets, and somewhere filled with persons who have attained emancipation. O thou of slender waist, behold these hosts of flowers spreading along, and others dipping themselves in the stream. And, O auspicious one, behold these sweet-throated birds, the Chakravakas, getting upon the islets, uttering pleasant notes. Methinks, O beauteous one, the sight of Chitrakuta and of Mandakini is even more delightful than life in the metropolis, or the sight of thy own self. Do thou like unto her companion perform thy bath with me in this stream, whose waters are perpetually stirred by emancipated ones, furnished with asceticism, self-restraint, and control over the senses, who have had their sins removed. Do thou, O Sita, perform thy ablutions in the Mandakini, scattering at the same time, O girl, red and white lotuses. Do thou, my wife, always consider the wild animals as citizens, the mountain as Ayodhya, and this stream as the Sarayu. The virtuous Lakshmana is ever obedient to my commands, and, O Videha's daughter, thou also art favorable to me. This causes delight in my heart. Bathing thrice, in this river, and living on tasteful fruits and roots, I and thy company do not today wish either for Ayodhya or royalty. Bathing in this beauteous stream agitated by herds of elephants, whose waters are drunk by elephants, lions and monkeys, which is graced with flowers, and which is decked with multitudes of blossoms, there is no one who has not his fatigue removed, and who does not feel exhilarated. Having thus along with his beloved one, spoken variously regarding the stream, that perpetuator of the Ragu race, Rama, began to range the charming Chitrakuta, resembling the collyrium in hue. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 96. Having showed unto Mithila's daughter the river belonging to the mountain, Rama sat down on its tableland, and, gratifying Sita with meat, said unto her, This clean meat tastes sweet, having been roasted in fire. The righteous Raghava was thus seated in company with Sita, when Bharata's followers came there. And filling the heavens, there arose clouds of dust raised by the army as well as an uproar. And at this time mad leaders of elephant herds, accompanied by the latter, scared by the terrible tumult, scud on all sides. And Raghava heard the noise raised by the army, and also saw all those leaders of elephant herds scampering away. And having seen them running away, and heard that hubbub, Rama spoke unto Sumitra's son, Lakshmana of flaming energy, Ha! Lakshmana, in whom Sumitra has been blessed with a worthy son, hark! A tremendous and dreadful uproar resembling the rumbling of clouds is being heard, and in the woods and mighty forest, deer and buffaloes and herds of elephants being accompanied by lions are suddenly scampering away in all directions. O Sumitra's son, it behoves thee to learn whether any king or prince is hunting in the forest, or any ferocious beast is ravaging the woods. O Lakshmana, this mountain is even incapable of being frequented by fowls. Therefore it behoves thee to learn all about it, as has actually been the case. Thereat, hurriedly ascending a flowering sala tree, Lakshmana, surveying all sides, fixed his gaze on the east. And viewing the east, he discovered a mighty army, abounding with elephants, horses, and cars, and consisting of equipped infantry. Thereupon, Lakshmana communicated unto Rama tidings concerning that army filled with elephants and steeds, and decked with cars and streamers, and spoke unto Rama, saying, O noble one, do you put out the fire, and let Sita go into the cave? And do you string your bow, and make ready the arrows, and don on your mail? Thereat, Rama, chief of men, answered Lakshmana, saying, O son of Sumitra, do thou, first, ascertain whom this host belongs to. Thus accosted by Rama, Lakshmana, as if consuming that army by his wrath resembling fire, said, having got himself installed, Kaikeyi's son, Bharata, anxious to render his royalty perfectly safe, is coming hither for the purpose of slaying us both. Yonder is seen the graceful tree. By the same appeareth on the car the Kovidara standard, having a shining top. And men riding swift coursers are at their pleasure making for this place, and elephant riders, riding on elephants, are also cheerfully directing their course hither. Let us, O hero, taking our bows, station ourselves on this hill. I will, today, see Bharata, for whom we have come by this mighty misfortune. Or let us rather remain where we are accoutred in mail and with our arms ready. Shall he of the Kovidara banner in conflict come under our sway? O hero, we have met with that foe of ours for whom, O Raghava, you, Sita and myself have experienced such misery, for whom, O Raghava, you have been cast off from the entire kingdom. Surely, Bharata should be slain by me. O Raghava, fault find I none in slaying Bharata, slaying a former wronger, one doth not reap unrighteousness. O Raghava, there is religious merit to be reaped by slaying Bharata, who had formerly done us wrong. On this one being slain, you will rule the entire earth. Today shall Kaikeyi, lusting after the kingdom, with grief behold her son slain in battle by me, like a tree riven by an elephant. I will also kill Kaikeyi the Long, with the humpbacked one, and her friends. Let the earth today be freed from foul sins. Today will I, O bestower of honor, vent my restrained ire and bad blood upon the hostile hosts, like fire set to a heap of hay. Today with sharpened shafts will I cut the bodies of the hostile hosts and drench the woods of Chitrakuta with their blood. The ferocious beasts shall drag away elephants and steeds and men slaughtered by me with arrows penetrating into their hearts. I will, without doubt, in this forest pay the debt I owe to my bow 8 arrows, by slaying Bharata together with all his forces. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 97. Pacifying Sumitra's son, Lakshmana, transported with rage and eager for encounter, Rama addressed him, saying, When the mighty Bharata possessed of high spirits has himself come here, what is the use of the bow or the sword or the shield? Having promised to maintain my father's truth, what, O Lakshmana, shall I, having slain Bharata in battle, do with the kingdom with a stain attached unto it? That thing which falls to my lot on the destruction of friends and adherents I never accept, even like food mixed with poison. I swear unto thee, I wish for the possession of righteousness, interest, desire in the earth, and your interests alone, O Lakshmana. O Lakshmana, I swear by my weapon that it is for the maintenance and happiness of my brothers that I wish for the kingdom. O mild one, this earth herself is not difficult of being attained by me, but, O Lakshmana, I do not through unrighteousness wish to possess myself of sacred state. May fire reduce to ashes any happiness of mine that, O bestower of honor, happens to be dissevered from Bharata, or thyself, or Satrufna. I think Bharata attached unto his brothers had come to Ayodhya, and then, allowing the morality regulating the race, that one dearer unto me than life, hearing of me banished, bearing matted locks and bark, together with Janaki, O hero, and thyself, thou foremost of men, has, with his heart surcharged with reflection, and his senses overwhelmed by grief, come hither for seeing us. He cannot have come on any other account, and having got wroth with Kaikeyi, and given her rough speech, that auspicious one, having gratified my sire, has come hither to make the kingdom over unto me. And the season being fit, meet it is that Bharata should see us. He does not even in thought act against us. Hath ere this Bharata done thee any bad turn? Or did he tell thee anything so harming that today thou standest in fear of him? Certainly thou ought not to say cruel or unpleasant words in relation to Bharata. If wrong be done unto Bharata, I shall consider myself as wronged. Do sons, in times of peril, ever slay their father, or brothers their brother like unto their life, O son of Sumitra? If thou speakest thus for the sake of the monarchy, on seeing Bharata, I will say unto him, Make over the kingdom unto this one. Earnestly exhorted by me, saying, Do thou place the kingdom in his hands, he will say, Very well. Thus addressed by his brother of a virtuous disposition, Lakshmana, ever engaged in Rama's good, from shame seemed to enter into his body. And hearing those words, Lakshmana, affected by shame, answered, I conceive our father Dasaratha himself hath come to see you. And finding Lakshmana overcome with shame, Raghav replied, I think that mighty armed one has come hither to see us, or I take it for certain that, considering that we are fit for ease only, and taking our banishment to heart, he will take us home. Or it may be that graceful descendant of Raghu, my father, will go away, taking from the forest Videha's daughter brought up in the lap of luxury. There are seen these graceful and well-bred steeds, courageous, swift, and furnished with the speed of the wind, the best of horses. And this huge elephant belonging to our aged sire, named Satranjaya, proceedeth in the van of the army. But, thou exalted one, I do not see the splendid white umbrella of our father known among men. Therefore, doubts arise in my mind. Do thou descend from the top of the tree, O Lakshmana. Do my bidding. Thus did the righteous Rama accost Sumitra's son. Descending from the top of the sala tree, that conqueror in battles, Lakshmana, stood by Rama with joined hands. Commanded by Bharata, let not, Rama's asylum, be trampled by the forces, the army took up its quarters at a distance from the hill. And the Ikshwaku host, filled with elephants and steeds covering half a yojana, encamped at the side of the mountain. And keeping morality in their foreboot, and renouncing pride, the disciplined forces schooled by Bharata in view of pleasing the descendant of Raghu, Rama, stayed in Chitrakuta. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 98. Having stationed his troops, that best of men, the master, became anxious to go on foot to the Kakutstha, honoring his superiors. And the forces having with humility took up the quarters assigned, Bharata addressed his brother, Satrufna, saying, O mild one, it behoves thee at once to search this forest all round in company with a large body of men as well as these Nishadas. And let Guha himself, accompanied by 1,000 of his kindred bearing in their hands arrows and bows and scimitars, also search for the Kakutstha in this forest. Accompanied by counselors, citizens, preceptors, and twice-born ones, I will on foot range every direction. So long as I do not see Rama, or the mighty Lakshmana, or the highly exalted daughter of Videha, I shall not attain peace of mind. And so long as I do not see that face of his fair as the moon, with eyes expansive like lotuses, I shall not attain peace of mind. Surely, Sumitra's son, Lakshmana, who beholds Rama's countenance like the stainless moon, with eyes resembling lotuses, and beaming in effulgence, is blessed. So long as I do not take on my head those feet of my brother bearing royal marks, I shall not attain peace of mind. So long as established in the kingdom of his father and grandfather, that one worthy of the monarchy is not sprinkled with the water of installation, I shall not attain peace of mind. Blessed is Vaidehi, the eminently virtuous daughter of Janaka, who followeth the lord of this earth bounded by the seas. And this Chitrakuta is fortunate, this hill like unto the monarch of mountains, in which resides Kakutstha, like Kuvara in Nandana. And blessed is this deep forest inhabited by ferocious animals, where abideth the great King Rama, the foremost of those bearing arms. Having said this, that best of men, the mighty armed and highly energetic Bharata, on foot entered the vast forest. And that best of speakers went over the mountainside through ranks of blossoming trees. Then swiftly ascending a sala on Chitrakuta, he descried the high column of smoke belonging unto Rama's asylum. Having seen this, like one that has crossed over the ocean, the graceful Bharata, concluding that Rama was there, rejoiced exceedingly along with his friends. Having heard that Rama's asylum containing pious people lay in Chitrakuta, that high-souled one again stationing his forces, speedily went, in that direction, accompanied by Guha. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 99. Having quartered his forces, Bharata eager, to go to Rama's place, went to see his brother, showing unto Satrufna the signs of Rama's abode being in the vicinity. And having desired Vasistha, saying, Bring my mothers without delay, that one attached to his superiors went before. And eager to see Rama, even like Bharata himself, Sumantra followed Bharata at a short distance. And as Bharata passed on, he observed a neat cottage of leaves stationed among the asylums of anchorets, furnished with a portion having a wall with a door. And before the cottage, Bharata saw fuel broken up, and flowers gathered. And he saw at places signs of kusa and bark set up on trees when Rama and Lakshmana, first, arrived at their asylum. And in that habitation, Bharata saw great heaps of dry dung of deer and buffaloes, gathered for preventing cold. As he proceeded, the intelligent and mighty-armed Bharata with a cheerful heart remarked unto Satrughna and all the courtiers, I conceive, we have reached the tract that was mentioned by Bharadvaja. Hard by this spot, I fancy, is the river Mandakini. On high are barks set up by Lakshmana. Having to pass by the way at unusual hours, Lakshmana has marked it with signs. On the side of the hill is the way by which long-tusked elephants pass to and fro with vehemence, roaring at each other. Here is seen the dense and dark smoke of that which the anchorites are ever anxious to preserve in the forest, fire. Even here shall I with a delighted heart see that foremost of men, the noble Raghava resembling a Maharshi, ever engaged in serving his superiors. Then going to Chitrakuta, that descendant of Raghu, coming to the Mandakini, said unto the men, that foremost of men in all the world, the Lord of all, coming into seclusion, is in his yoga posture. O fie upon my birth and my life! For me, having come by misfortune, and renounced every comfort, the effulgent Lord of men, Raghava, is dwelling in the woods. I shall be taxed of men on the score. Today, first, pacifying him, I will fall at the feet of Rama as well as of Sita and Lakshmana. Having thus bewailed, Dasaratha's son saw a splendid, charming, and holy dwelling in that forest, composed of leaves. And Bharata beheld in Rama's habitation a sacred structure made of leaves, covered with a profusion of sala, palm, and aswakarna leaves, spread with soft kusa, like a dais in a sacrifice, adorned with bows resembling the iris, plated on the back with gold, of mighty force, and capable of achieving arduous feats and destroying foes, and garnished with arrows and quivers, seeming like the rays of the sun, with flaming mouths, like unto the Bhagavati with serpents, and exceedingly beautified with golden sheaths and scimitars and shields spangled with gold and nice guana finger fences decked with gold, inaccessible unto foes like a lion's den unto deer, and furnished with a spacious dais inclined on the northeast, with a fire flaming on it. And looking around, anon Bharata saw his superior Rama seated in the cottage bearing a head of matted locks, clad in a black deerskin, and having tattered cloth and bark for his garment. And he saw Rama seated like unto a flame, with leonine shoulders, mighty arms, and eyes resembling lotuses. The righteous lord of this world bounded by the seas, saw the mighty armed one like unto the eternal Brahma, seated on a skin seat on the ground along with Sita and Lakshmana. And seeing him, overwhelmed with grief and affliction, the righteous and graceful son of Kaikeyi, Bharata, rushed towards him. And soon as Bharata saw Rama, he, exceedingly distressed, broke out into lamentations and words choked with sorrow. And incapable of holding himself in patience, he said, that elder brother of mine, who, seated, in court should be surrounded by the subjects intent upon paying him homage, is now surrounded by wild deer. He that used to adorn his person with attire worth many thousands of things, engaged in observing morality, is clad in deerskin. Why doth he that always wore variegated blossoms, Raghava, beareth this burthen of matted locks? He who is worthy of acquiring religious merit by celebrating sacrifices according to the ordinance, is now following morality by afflicting his person. How is the person of that one whose body used to be daubed with costly sandal, covered with dust? It is for me that Rama, although deserving of comfort, has come by this misfortune. Wicked that I am, fie upon my life despised of men. Thus lamenting in woeful guise, with the lotus of his countenance covered with sweat, Bharata coming at Rama's feet, fell at them bewailing. And inflamed with grief, the exceedingly powerful Prince Bharata, having in distress of spirit uttered, O noble one, again said nothing. And beholding the illustrious Rama, Bharata with his utterance choked with emotion, exclaimed, O noble one, and was unable to say anything further. Then Satrughna also weeping paid homage unto the feet of Rama. And shedding tears, Rama embraced them both. Then as in the sky, the sun and the moon meet with Sukra and Vrihaspati, those two princes, Rama and Lakshmana, met with Sumantra and Guha in the forest. And beholding those kings resembling leaders of elephant herds met together in that mighty forest, the dwellers in the woods, resigning their cheerfulness, began to shed tears. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 100. Then Rama cast his eyes on Bharata, as clad in bark and wearing matted locks he lay on the earth with joined hands, and capable of being gazed at, like the sun at the time of the universal dissolution. Then recognizing him a little, he took by the hand his brother Bharata, lean, with a pallid countenance. And smelling the crown of his head, and embracing the descendant of Raghu, Rama took Bharata on his lap and asked him affectionately, Where was thy father, child, that thou hast come to the forest? It certainly behoves thee not to come unto the forest while he is living. Ah! I see thee come from far after a long time. Why, my child, hast thou come unto this gloomy forest? Is the king alive, my child, seeing that thou hast come hither, or, afflicted with grief, hath he suddenly gone to the other world? And, O mild one, child that thou art, thy kingdom ever thine hath not been wrested from thee? And, O thou having truth for prowess, dost thou, my child, minister unto our sire? And is that truthful one, that performer of Rajasuya and Aswamedha, ever devoted to righteousness, King Dasaratha, well? And, my child, is that exceedingly effulgent and learned Brahmana ever steady in morality, the priest of the Ikshwakus, duly honored? And, my child, are Kausalya and Sumitra having a son, in happiness? And is the noble Kakeyi in spirits? And is that one, sprung from a mighty line, humble and versed in various lore, thy priest, who performeth every ceremony, who beareth no ill will, and whose gaze is ever fixed upon our welfare, honored? And do intelligent and sincere people cognizant of the rules look after the sacrificial fire? And do they regularly inform thee of the proper seasons for performing the fire sacrifice? Dost thou regard the deities, the ancestral manes, the preceptors like unto predecessors, the physicians, the brahmanas, and the servants? And dost not disregard the preceptor Sudhanwa, versed in excellent arms whether inspired with mantras or not, and accomplished in the knowledge of polity? And, my child, hast thou employed as thy consilers, persons, heroic, learned, self-controlled, well-born, and understanding signs, who are like thy own self? O descendant of Ragu, counsel well kept by clever counselors versed in lore, is the root of victory with kings. And thou hast not come under the sway of sleep? And thou awakest at the proper hour? And dost thou during the short hours revolve the means of acquiring wealth? And thou dost not take counsel either with thyself alone, or, on the other hand, with a multiplicity of counselors. And thy counsel doth not range the kingdom, i.e. doth not take air. And, O descendant of Ragu, having determined upon a course costing small effort, but fraught with a mighty result, thou setst about it sharply and delayest not. And do the auxiliary kings know only those acts of thine that have been accomplished, or those that are well nigh so, and not those that thou intendest to set thine hand to? And do others through inference or appearances come at a knowledge of thy counsels, although undivulged to others by thyself or thy counselors? And, do thou and thy ministers attain to a knowledge of others' counsels? And passing by 1,000 dunces, dost thou set thy heart on having a single wise man? In times of pecuniary stress, a wise man stands in excellent stead. And although a king might be surrounded by 1,000 or 10,000 fools, yet he can count upon no assistance at their hands. And a single able counselor, intelligent, heroic, and sagacious, bringeth great prosperity upon a king or a prince. And, my child, dost thou employ the best servants upon the best offices, the middling upon middling, and the worst upon the worst? And dost thou employ upon the most worthy offices counselors who are above bribery, who have served thy father and grandfather, and who are pure? And do the subjects visited with condign punishment, as well as the ministers, disregard thee, O son of Kakeyi? And do the priests scorn thee like a fallen one, even as females do those lascivious folks who use force towards the former? He that doth not slay a physician skilled in ways and means, a servant given to enlisting the sympathies of his fellow servants against his master, or a hero that covets riches, is slain by them. And hast thou chosen for thy general one that is confident, is endowed with intelligence and fortitude, sprung in a respectable race, and attached and able? And dost thou practically honor thy foremost warriors possessed of prowess, who have already given evidence of their manliness? And dost thou at the proper time grant thy soldiers what thou shouldst, provision and pay, and dost not delay in doing this? If the proper time for granting provision and pay be past, the servants get wroth with their master and tax him, and great is the evil that springs herefrom. And are the principal descendants of our race attached unto thee, and are they, when enlisted on thy side with concentrated minds, ready to lay down their lives? And, O Bharata, are thy spies persons coming from the provinces, and learned, upright, endowed with presence of mind, representing the truth, and possessed of wisdom? And dost thou acquire intelligence of the expedients, 18 in respect of others, and 15 in respect of thy own self, by means of every 3 spies appointed in connection with each of these expedients, men quite ignorant of each other's counsels? And dost thou not contemn those weak ones that, O destroyer of thy foes, having been expelled, have come again unto thee? And, my child, thou dost not minister unto atheistical brahmanas? These childish persons proud of their learning are only fit for bringing evils upon others. While there are excellent scriptures, these people of subtle intellects, having acquired a knowledge of dialectics, speak vanities. And, my child, dost thou protect the prosperous and renowned Ayodhya, inhabited formerly by our heroic predecessors, bearing a true name, having strong gates, filled with elephants, steeds, and cars, thronged by thousands, with noble brahmanas, kshatriyas, and vaishyas breathing high spirits, and with their senses controlled, each engaged in his own task, abounding in people learned in the Veda, and surrounded with palatial mansions of various shapes? And, O descendant of Raghu, are the flourishing provinces marked with hundreds of chaityas, filled with prosperous people, graced with abodes of deities, places for distributing water, and tanks, with men and women in happy mood, gay with meetings and festivities, having their outskirts well furrowed, provided with beasts, void of ill feelings, depending on tanks for their water supply, charming, renounced by fierce animals, free from all kinds of fear, decked with mines, left by unrighteous people, and well governed by my predecessors, having a good time of it. And do agriculturists and cowherds find favor in thy sight? And remaining in their respective vocations, do they enjoy happiness? And dost thou maintain them by securing unto them what they wish for and removing from them what they wish away? All the dwellers in his dominions should be protected by the king. And dost thou conciliate the females, and are they well protected by thee? And dost thou not regard them, and dost thou not open unto them thy mind? And are the woods where elephants breed, kept by thee, and hast thou kine? And dost thou not foster Marias and female elephants? And dost thou show thyself daily in the court, well-robed? And rising in the morning, dost thou show thyself in the highways? And do thy servants boldly present themselves before thee, or do they all keep away? A middle course contributes to their good fortune. And are all the forts furnished with wealth, corn, arms, water, machines, artisans, and bowmen? And are thy incomings great and outgoings slender? And, Raghu's descendant, thou dost not give away thy coffers unto the undeserving? And dost thou spend thy wealth in the interests of the deities, or the Pitratas, or the Brahmanas who have come unto thee, or warriors, or friends? If any respectable, pure-spirited and clean person happen to be accused by someone of theft or other crimes, dost thou from covetousness punish him without first having him tried by persons versed in Scripture? And, O best of men, is a thief, that hath been caught, interrogated, as to his guilt, and found with the stolen property on his person, set free, by thy men, from motives of gain? And do thy counselors, O descendant of Raghu, accomplished in various lore, uninfluenced by greed, consider the conduct of both the rich and the poor involved in peril? O son of the Raghu race, the tears of those who have been falsely charged with any offense, and who have failed to obtain justice, dropping, destroy the sons as well as the beasts of the ruler that minds his own comfort only. And dost thou with these three gifts, mind and word, try to win over aged people, boys, physicians, and the principal ones? And dost thou salute spiritual preceptors, aged persons, ascetics, gods, guests, chaityas, emancipated ones, and brahmanas? And thou dost not oppose righteousness by interest, or interest by virtue, or both by desire, intent on gratifying the senses. And, O foremost of conquerors, dost thou, O thou cognizant of time, in season resorting to interest, desire, and virtue respectively, attain them, O bestower of boons? And do Brahmanas versed in all religious lore and knowing interest, together with the citizens and the inhabitants of the provinces wish for thy happiness, O highly wise one? Atheism, untruthfulness, inattention, anger, procrastination, companionship with evil persons, indolence, gratification of the senses, consultation with a single person concerning the needs of a kingdom, taking counsel with those that are cognizant of evils alone, omission to take in hand a task that hath been decided upon, divulgence of counsel, non-commencement of a course in the morning, and marching against all the foes at one and the same time. Hast thou eschewed these 10 and 4 faults? And, O descendant of Raghu, truly understanding the 10th, 5th, 4th, and 7th classes as well as the 8th and 3rd ones, and the 3 kinds of learning, and victory over the senses, and the evils human and superhuman, 6 attributes, and the peculiar duties of royalty, and the 20 classes, and the kinds of properties and mandala, and yatra, chastisement, and war and peace having each 2 sources, dost thou with due order observe all these? And, O wise one, dost thou, as laid down in the ordinance, take counsel, severally and in a body with 3 or 4 men? And dost thou observe the Vedas? And dost thou perceive the fruit of thy acts? And have thy wives borne children? And has thy knowledge of Scripture borne fruit? And, descendant of Raghu, is thy intellect going the way that I have indicated above? This course is conducive to long life, and fame, and virtue, desire, and interest. And, O child, art thou following the course that was followed by our ancestors? And art thou maintaining the conduct that is excellent and passes along pious ways? And, O son of Raghu, thou dost not alone partake of sapid meats thyself alone? And dost thou share them with those friends who expect it? The learned king ruling, all, righteously, that chastiser of the subjects, the monarch attaining duly the entire earth, going away from hence, acquires the celestial regions. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 101. Knowing Bharata as devoted to his superior Rama along with his brother Lakshmana, asked him, What for is this visit of thine unto the woods? I wish to hear as clearly related by thee the reason why clad in black deerskin and wearing matted locks, thou, leaving thy kingdom, hast come to these regions. It behoveth thee to tell me all this. Thus accosted by the high-souled Kakutsta, Kakeyi's son, suppressing his grief by a strong effort, with joined hands said, O noble one, forsaking us all, our father possessed of mighty arms, having performed this terrible task, in consequence of being urged by a woman, my mother Kakeyi, hath gone to heaven afflicted with grief on account of his son, O represser of foes. And she hath committed a signal sin capable of destroying her fame. And without obtaining the kingdom which she had coveted as the fruit of her action, a widow tried with grief, my mother will fall into a terrible hell. Now it behoves thee to extend thy favor unto me who have become thy slave. Do thou this very day get thyself installed in the kingdom, like unto Indra himself. All these subjects and our widowed mothers have come unto thee. It behoves thee to show thy favor unto them. Thou art the firstborn, and meet it is that thou shouldst get thyself installed, O bestower of honor. Therefore do thou receive the kingdom righteously, and fulfill the desire of thy friends. And like the autumnal night on having the unclouded moon, let the entire earth cease to be a widow on having thee, her lord. With bent head I beseech thee along with these counselors. It behoves thee to show thy favor unto thy brother, disciple, and slave. Therefore, O chief of men, thou ought not to pass by this honored band of ancestral ministers, who have always been serving this race. Having said this, with tears flooding his eyes, the mighty armed son of Kakeyi, Bharata, again took Rama's feet on his head. Thereupon Rama, embracing his brother Bharata, resembling a mad elephant, and sighing again and again, said, Of a high race, possessed of strength, endowed with energy, and vowed unto sterling worth of character, how can one like me commit sin for the sake of dominion? Fault find I none ever so small in thee, thou destroyer of foes. Nor doth it become thee from puerility to tax thy mother, O exceedingly wise one, O thou that art sinless. Superiors may act as they list in relation to those wives and sons of theirs that are after their heart. And this also thou shouldst learn, that wives, sons, and disciples should always be obedient as has been held by the emancipated ones. O mild one, the monarch is competent to make me stay in the woods clad in black deerskin, as to establish me in the monarchy. And, O thou conversant with morality, O foremost of those observing righteousness, and respect of virtuous conduct, a mother should be as much regarded by a son as a father is. How can I, O descendant of Ragu, having been told by my righteous father and mother, go to the woods, act otherwise? Thou ought to receive the kingdom, Ayodhya, honored of men, and I ought to dwell in Dandaka dressed in bark. Having made this division of duties in the presence of all, and also enjoined this, the mighty monarch, Dasaratha, hath ascended heaven. That superior of all, even the virtuous king, is thy evidence. It behoves thee to enjoy that which hath been assigned unto thee by thy sire. And, O mild one, taking refuge in the forest of Dandaka for 14 years, I will act the part that hath been set apart for me by my magnanimous father. What hath been assigned to me by that one respected by all men, my high-souled father resembling the Lord of Celestials himself, is my prime good, the masterdom of all the worlds I would decline, should it be opposed to the will of my sire. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 102. Hearing Rama's words, Bharata answered, Deprived of the kingdom in consequence of my posteriority in point of birth, what doth regard for morality avail me? O best of men, even this morality has ever been established with reference to us, viz., that the eldest son of the king existing, a younger one cannot be the king. Do thou, therefore, O Raghava, go along with me to the prosperous Ayodhya, and get thyself installed there for the behoof of our race. Although a king observing interest in virtue, and who towers above average humanity, hath been called a mortal, yet to me he is a very deity. While I was in Kakaya and thou wast in the forest, that intelligent monarch honored of the good, given to celebrating sacrifices, ascended heaven. As soon as thou hadst set out for the forest, along with Sita and Lakshmana, the king borne down by grief and chagrin, went to heaven. O foremost of men, do thou arise, and offer water unto the spirit of our sire. Satrufna and I have ere this offered water unto the departed. O Raghava, anything offered unto the manes of the ancestors by a beloved descendant, conduces to their eternal behoof, and thou wast the favorite of our father. Mourning thee, and exceedingly desirous of seeing thee, his mind being fastened on thee, and incapable of being turned away, deprived of thee, and smitten with grief on thy account, thy father departed this life, remembering thee. Ramayana, Kanda 2, section 103. Hearing those piteous words uttered by Bharata in connection with the demise of their father, Raghava was deprived of his senses. And on that thunderbolt of a speech being uttered by Bharata, like unto a real thunderbolt hurled in battle by the enemy of the Danavas, Indra, that subduer of foes, Rama, stretching his arms, fell down to the earth, like a blossoming tree that hath been hewn by an axe. Seeing that Lord of the world and mighty bowman, Rama, fallen, like a sleeping elephant fatigued with turning up earth with its tusks, his brothers, exercised with sorrow, broke out into lamentations, and along with Videha's daughter began to sprinkle water on his face. Then regaining his consciousness, Kakutstha, shedding tears from his eyes, distressfully addressed himself to speech. And hearing that Lord of earth, his sire, had gone to heaven, that righteous one said unto Bharata words fraught with virtue and interest, What shall I do with Ayodhya, my sire having gone the way ordained by the gods? And who will govern her, now that she hath been deprived of that foremost of monarchs? Of fruitless birth that I am, what can I do for that magnanimous one? And of him that renounced his life from grief on my account? I have not even performed the last rites. Ah! Bharata, thou, O sinless one, art blessed, since by thee as well as by Satrughna have been performed all the funeral rites of the king. To Ayodhya, bereft of the monarch, having none to preside over her destinies, and many rulers, will I not return even when the term of my abode in the woods has been passed. My father having gone to the other world, who, O subduer of enemies, will again counsel me when, my stay in the forest being over, I shall have returned unto Ayodhya. And from whom shall I hear those words grateful unto the ear, which my father gratifying me used to speak unto me when I happened to do something well? Having thus addressed Bharata, Raghava, burning in grief, spoke unto his wife, with her countenance resembling the full moon, saying, O Sita, thy father-in-law is dead, and, O Lakshmana, thou art fatherless. Bharata has communicated unto me the sad intelligence that our father hath ascended heaven. When Kakutstha had said this, tears began to shower forth from the eyes of the renowned princes. Then all those brothers, pacifying as best they could Rama, stricken with sorrow, said unto him, Do thou perform the watery rites of that Lord of the earth, our sire. Having heard that her father-in-law, the king, had gone to the celestial regions. Sita, with her eyes filled with tears, could not see her beloved. Thereupon, pacifying the weeping daughter of Janaka, Rama, moved with grief, spoke unto the distressed Lakshmana, saying, Do thou bring in goody fruits as well as a piece of new bark. I will go to perform the watery rites of our high-souled sire. Let Sita go first. Do thou follow her. I shall go last. Even this is the course of those in mourning. Then that magnanimous one, having a knowledge of the soul, mild, graceful, capable of controlling his senses, steady in his regard for Rama, and ever following him, Sumantra, in company with those sons of the king, having cheered up Raghava, brought him to the auspicious river, Mandakini. Then those illustrious ones, having in distress arrived at the river Mandakini, having convenient descents, charming, ever furnished with blossoming woods, and of rapid currents, and approached its descents, goodly and void of mud, offered water unto the monarch, uttering, May this be so. And the protector of the earth, Rama, holding water with his joined hands, facing the south, said weeping, O foremost of monarchs, may this clear water, knowing no deterioration, reach thee, who hast gone to the world of the ancestral Manes. Then drawing nigh unto the marge of the Mandakini, the energetic Raghava, along with his brothers, offered the pinda unto his father. And placing the ingudi pinda mixed with juyubi on a bed of Darbarama, crying in distress, said, O mighty monarch, do thou well pleased feed on this, which we also live upon. That which is the fare of an individual, is also the fare of his divinities. Then that foremost of men, ascending the bank of the stream by the selfsame way, got up on the charming side of the hill. And having arrived at the gate of the cottage of leaves, that Lord of the earth held both Bharata and Lakshmana with his hands. And there the hill reverberated at the sounds raised by the brothers wailing along with Vaidehi, like unto lions roaring. And perceiving the loud uproar of those mighty ones engaged in offering water unto their sire, indulging in lamentations, the army of Bharata became agitated. And they said, For certain Bharata hath met with Rama, and this mighty noise proceeds from them, as they are bitterly mourning their deceased sire. Thereat leaving aside their vehicles, they with one mind, rushed towards the spot wherefrom proceeded the uproar. And of those that were tender, some went on horses, and some on elephants, and some on ornamented chariots, while others went on foot. And eager to behold Rama staying away for a short time, though seeming to do so for a long period, all the men at once went to the hermitage. And desirous of witnessing the meeting of the brothers, with Rama, they with all dispatch proceeded by means of various vehicles consisting of beasts and cars. And the ground trodden by the wheels of innumerable cars emitted loud sounds, like those emitted by the sky on clouds gathering. And frightened by the uproar, elephants accompanied by female ones, perfuming all sides, by the fragrance of temporal juice, went to another forest. And boars, and deer, and lions, and buffaloes, and shramaras, and tigers, and gokarnas, gayals and prashadas were stricken with panic. And wild with alarm, chakravakas and swans, and natuhas, and plavas, and karandavas, and male seals, and crouches, fled away in all directions. And the welkin was enveloped by birds frightened by the noise, as the earth was covered by men, and both the sky and the land then gave out great effulgence. As the people suddenly saw that foremost of men, the sinless and illustrious Rama seated on the ground, accusing Kakeyi as well as the vile Manthara, the people approached Rama, with their countenances discovering tears. Seeing those men oppressed with grief with their eyes filled with tears, that one cognizant of virtue like fathers and mothers, embraced those that deserved it, and he embraced some persons, and some offered him salutations. And the king's son, as each deserved, properly received them along with their friends and equals in age. And the sounds, produced by those high-souled persons lamenting, resounding the earth and the sky, and the mountain caverns, and all the cardinal points, were heard like peals of mridangas. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 104. Desirous of seeing Rama, Vasishtha, taking before him the wives of Dasaratha, proceeded towards the hermitage. And as the wives of the king were going slowly by the Mandakini, they discovered the landing place which was used by Rama and Lakshmana. Thereupon Kausalya, with her eyes filled with tears and her countenance rendered pale, observed unto the forlorn Sumitra as well as the other wives of the king, sacred like unto a first wife, "In this forest this is the landing place of those unfortunate ones of untiring energy, who had been deprived of the kingdom. From here, O Sumitra, doth thy son, Saumitri, ever vigilant, personally procure water for my son. Although thy son performeth a servile office, yet he is not to blame. The performance of that alone which serves no purpose of his brother possessed of many perfections, could bring blame upon him. Today let thy son, who doth not deserve such toilsome work, cease to perform that office which is fraught with hardships fit only for the base." That lady of expansive eyes happened to see on the earth the Ingudi Pinda, which had been placed by Rama for his sire on the Darbo with their tops pointing southwards. Seeing this, which had been placed on the ground by Rama disconsolate for his sire, the noble Kausalya addressed all the wives of Dasaratha, saying, "Do ye behold this that hath been duly offered to the high-souled descendant of Raghu, lord of the Ikshvaka race, by Raghava? I do not deem this as fit fare for that magnanimous monarch resembling a celestial, who had enjoyed every luxury in life. Having enjoyed this earth bounded by the four seas, how can that lord of the world, resembling on earth the mighty Indra, feed on this Ingudi Pinda? Nothing appeareth to me more deplorable in this world than this that the auspicious Rama hath offered an Ingudi cake unto his father. Seeing the Ingudi Pinda offered by Rama unto his father, why doth not my heart break into 1,000 shivers? Now the tradition in vogue among men appereth to be true, viz., that the fare that is partaken by a person is also partaken by his deity." Then those that were co-wives with her consoled the distressed Kausalya, and, entering the asylum, beheld Rama like an immortal dropped from the celestial regions. Seeing Rama, who had been deprived of every comfort, his mothers, overwhelmed with grief and distress, began to shed tears, lamenting. Raising his mothers, that foremost of men, Rama, true to his promise, took hold of those lotus feet of theirs. And those once furnished with expansive eyes, on their turn, by means of their fair hands of delicious feel furnished with soft fingers and palms, fell to rubbing the dust off Rama's back. After Rama had done, Sumitra's son also, seeing all his mothers, with sorrow gently paid his reverence unto them with affection. Thereat, as they had treated Rama, all the ladies treated that one sprung from Dasaratha, Lakshmana, graced with auspicious marks. Sita also, with her eyes filled with tears, having taken hold of the feet of her mothers-in-law, stood before them in distressful guise. Embracing that woeful one in banishment, even as a mother doth her daughter, Kausalya, smitten with grief, said, "The daughter of Videha's king, and the daughter-in-law of Dasaratha, and the wife of Rama himself, why doth such a lady undergo misery in the lone forest? O Videha, beholding thy face like unto a lotus heated under the sun, or a lily that hath been crushed, or like unto gold covered with dust, or the moon enveloped by clouds, grief begot of this vortex of disaster that is in my mind, fiercely burneth me, as fire consumeth a structure." As his wretched mother was thus speaking, Bharata's elder brother, Raghava, approaching, took the feet of Vasishtha. Having taken hold of the feet of the priest resembling a flame, and of accumulated energy, like unto that lord of the immortals, Indra, taking the feet of Rahaspati, Raghava sat down with him. Then behind them, Rama and Vasishtha, along with his own counselors, and principal citizens, and generals, and persons of eminent piety, sat the virtuous Bharata in the presence of his elder brother. Seeing Raghav in the guise of an ascetic, flaming in grace, the exceedingly powerful Bharata with joined palms sat down in company with his brother, like the great Indra of controlled faculties and presence of Prajapati. What will Bharata, having bowed unto Raghav and paid him homage, will say to him? This intense curiosity arose in the minds of all the noble persons present there. And Raghav having truth and forbearance, and Lakshmana endowed with magnanimity, and Bharata possessed of righteousness, surrounded by their friends, appeared there, like unto the three fires surrounded by Sadasyas. Ramayana, Kanda 2, section 105. As those foremost of persons surrounded by their friends indulged in lamentations, the night passed away in grief. On the night being succeeded by an auspicious morning, those brothers surrounded by their friends, having performed Homa and Japa on the Mandakini, returned unto Rama. And sitting silent, no one said anything. Then Bharata addressed Rama in the midst of those friends, saying, My mother was, first, pacified, by grant of the kingdom. The kingdom is, now, mine. I grant the same unto thee. Do thou enjoy the kingdom rid of its thorns? Like unto a dike forced by a torrent during the rains, this mighty monarchy is difficult of being protected save by thee. As a mule is incapable of imitating the course of a horse, or as birds, that of Tarkshia, I, O Lord of earth, lack the strength to imitate thee. O Rama, ever happy is the life of him that others depend upon for subsistence, unhappy is the life of the person that depends upon others for support. As a tree planted by a person, and by him made to increase, until at last, sending out branches, a mighty tree, it is incapable of being got up by a dwarf, and then, if, flowering, it show no fruits, it cannot contribute to the satisfaction of HTM for whom it hath been planted. O mighty armed one, this comparison is meant for thee. This it behoves thee to apprehend, inasmuch as thou art our excellent Lord, and thou dost not teach us who depend upon thee for support. Let the principal orders, O monarch, behold thee, repressor of foes, established in the kingdom, like the powerful sun himself. O Kakusta, let mad elephants roar, with the view of following thee, and let the women of the inner apartments with concentrated minds utter jubilation. On hearing the words of Bharata, who was beseeching Rama, many of the citizens expressed their approbation by exclaiming, Excellent well. Seeing the illustrious Bharata aggrieved and engaged in lamentation, the calm and considerate Rama consoled him, saying, No creature is endowed with the power of exercising any control over the course of events. Man has no independent status in nature. The destroyer draws him both here and hereafter. Those that increase are destined to deteriorate, those that go upward ultimately fall, those that come together separate in the end, and life at length meets with death. As a ripe fruit hath no other fear than fall, so man who is born hath no other fear than death. Even as a stout-pillared edifice, getting dilapidated, waxes weak, so men coming under the sway of decrepitude and death, get enfeebled. A night that hath gone by, doth not return, as the full Jamuna, when she hath entered the ocean, doth not come back. In this world, days and nights pass away with creatures, and speedily impair their lives, even as in summer the rays of the sun dry up the waters. Do thou therefore deplore thyself? Why dost thou lament anything else? Everyone's life is decreasing, whether he sits or moves. Death goeth with one, sitteth down with one, and, after having gone a long way, returneth with one. The person is filled with folds in the skin, the hair hath grown hoary, the individual is enfeebled because of age. By doing what can he prevent this? People rejoice on the rising of the sun, they feel delighted at the approach of night, but they do not understand that their lives have, meanwhile, been shortened. People are exhilarated at the commencement of a new season in novel fashion, creatures get their lives shortened at the change of seasons. As on the mighty ocean, one piece of wood comes in contact with another, so, a person, having been in association with another, is separate from him in time. In this way, wives and sons and kindred and wealth, having been in association, go away, their separation is certain. There exists not one in this world that can change one's nature as received. A person lamenting a dead individual hath no power to prevent his own death. As, while one is proceeding on a road, another stationed by the way, says, I too will go in thy wake, even so, the way that hath been followed by our predecessors must be followed as well by us. Why should people mourn for deceased relatives, when they are themselves subject to the fate that knoweth no turning? Perceiving the destruction of life declining, like unto a current that never turneth back, one should engage his soul in happiness, for all men are said to be born for the same. My child, our righteous sire, who, after having performed excellent and entire sacrifices, accompanied with dakshinas, hath repaired to heaven, honored of the good, should not be mourned. Having renounced his human frame wasted and worn out with age, our father hath attained celestial state, which exists in the regions of Brahma. Such an one should never be mourned by any wise person like thee or myself, accomplished in learning and more than ordinarily intelligent. Such manifold grief and mourning and lamentation should be renounced by intelligent and firm persons in all conditions in life. Do thou cast off this grief, let not sorrow overpower thee. Going thither, stay in that city. And, O best of speakers, this was also enjoined by our sire of controlled senses. I also must do my noble father's will as to whatever that one of pious acts has laid upon me. O subduer of foes, it is not proper for me to pass by his orders. So they are also worthy of being honored by thee. He is our friend and father. O descendant of Raghu, that mandate of our righteous father, acceptable unto me, will I obey by abiding in the woods. O foremost of men, good in the next world is capable of being attained by an honest and pious person crowned with sterling virtues, ever following his superiors. O best of men, thinking that our father Dasaratha has attained excellent state, do thou, resorting to all noble qualities, seek thy welfare in the next world. Having said these significant words unto his younger brother, with the view of making him obey the injunctions of their father, that lord, the magnanimous Rama, paused. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 106. On Rama having stopped after speaking these pregnant words, the virtuous Bharata addressed the righteous Rama attached unto his subjects in an excellent speech on the banks of the Mandakini, saying, O vanquisher of foes, who is there in this world like unto thee? Pain doth not afflict thee, nor doth pleasure exhilarate. Thyself the exemplar of even aged people, thou referrest to them on doubtful points of morality. Living like unto dead and existing like unto non-existing, what shall make a person that hath attained this intellectual state grieve? O Lord of men, he that like unto thee understands the nature of the soul and its environment coming by any calamity, ought not to despond. Thou resemblest, O Raghava, the God in strength, and art magnanimous, and truthful in promise. And knowest everything and art endued with intelligence. Calamity, however unbearable it may be, should not overpower a person like thyself furnished with such virtues and cognizant of life and death. The sin that in my absence from home hath been perpetrated by my mean-minded mother doth not find favor in my sight. Be thou therefore propitious to me. I am bound by the fetters of religion. For this it is that I do not by a severe penalty slay my wicked mother deserving of chastisement. How having sprung from Dasaratha of righteous deeds and born of immaculate race, and knowing virtue and vice, can I commit such a reprehensible action? Dasaratha is our superior, of meritorious acts, aged our king, a departed spirit, and our father. It is on account of this that I do not censure our father who is a deity unto us. O cognizant of virtue, what virtuous person conversant in morality should, seeking the pleasure of his wife, commit such a sinful act devoid of both righteousness and interest? Creatures, as their end approaches, lose their sense. This ancient adage has been illustrated in the world by the course the king has taken. Do thou, intent upon bringing about good, redeem the wrong that hath been done by our sire through anger, ignorance, and recklessness. The son that repaireth the wrong done by his father by acting contrary to the latter is in this world considered really a son, but not he that acteth otherwise. Be thou that, real, son, of the monarch. Do thou not approve the action of thy father, since what he has done is divorced from righteousness and is blameworthy? Do thou rescue all these, Kakeyi, myself, my father, our friends and adherents, and the whole body of the citizens as well as the inhabitants of the provinces. Where is the forest? And where is Kshatriya morality? Where are matted locks? And where is thy government of the country? It behoves thee not to act in such an untoward way. Even this is the first duty of a Kshatriya, viz., getting oneself installed, by means of which, O highly wise one, he can compass the government of the people. What base Kshatriya, setting aside this indubitable morality, resorts to a dubious and inauspicious course, which should be followed by the old alone? But if thou be bent upon practicing this austere morality, do thou undergo this trouble, after having righteously ruled the four orders. O thou cognizant of morality, those versed in duty say that of the four modes of life, the life of the householder is the foremost. Why then dost thou wish to renounce the same? I am inferior to thee in learning, in position, and in birth. How can I then govern the earth, thou existing? Void of sense and quality, a boy, and inferior to thee in point of years, I, deprived of thee, cannot live. O thou cognizant of morality, do thou, along with thy friends, according to thy proper morality rule this entire ancestral kingdom rid of its thorns and enjoying tranquility. Even here, O thou cognizant of the mantras, let all the subjects in the Ritwijas with Vasishtha, versed in the mantras, install thee. Having been installed, go to Ayodhya, for the purpose of governing it, having with our assistance conquered thy enemies by thy strength, like Vasva conquering his foes, with the help of the Maruts. Having freed thyself from thy threefold debts, do thou govern me, repressing thy foes, and propitiating thy friends with every gratification. O noble one, today let thy friends rejoice in consequence of thy coronation. Today let those that intend to do thee harm, being frightened, fly to the 10 cardinal points. O foremost of men, wiping out the disgrace of my mother, do thou emancipate our sire from sin. I beseech thee with bent head. Be thou merciful unto me, unto all our friends, and, O great Lord, unto all creatures in general. But, if disregarding my solicitations, thou wend from here to the forest, I shall go along with thee. Although thus besought and propitiated by Bharata with bent head, that lord of the earth, Rama, possessed of strength, established in the words of his father, did not decide for going. Witnessing that wonderful firmness in Raghav, the people were at one and the same time delighted and depressed. They were aggrieved because he would not go to Ayodhya, they rejoiced on seeing his firm resolution. Then the Ritwijas, the citizens, and their leaders, and the mothers with their senses lost and with tears in their eyes, extolled Bharata as he was speaking thus, and, bowing down unto Rama, they directed their solicitations together. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 107. As Bharata was again speaking in this strain, his graceful elder brother, having been highly honored, answered Bharata in the midst of his relatives, saying, having been born as a son unto Dasaratha, foremost of monarchs, by Kaikeyi, this speech of thine is worthy of thee. O brother, formerly when our father espoused the hand of thy mother, he promised her the kingdom as her marriage portion. Then on the occasion of the war between the gods and the Asuras, that master, the king, well pleased with her, being besought, granted her a boon. Having been thus promised, that virtuous lady, thy illustrious mother, O foremost of men, asked for 2 boons, of the king, viz., thy enthronement, O best of men, and my banishment thus besought by her, the king conferred on her the boon. And, thou foremost of men, I have been enjoined by my sire to stay in the woods for 14 years, in consequence of his having granted her the boon. And, having, in company with Lakshmana and Sita, come to the lone forest, I in humble guise am staying in the truthful speech of my father. Thou too, thou foremost of kings, shouldst in the same way speedily render our father truthful, by getting thyself installed. O Bharata, for my sake, do thou free that lord, the king, from his debts. Do thou, O thou cognizant of morality, deliver our father and gladden thy mother. O child, we hear that in Gaya, formerly the famous Gaya, engaged in a sacrifice, chanted this Vaidika hymn, for pleasing his departed ancestors, since a son delivereth his sire from the hell named Put, a son goeth by the appellation of Putra, he protecting his departed ancestors in every way. One should wish for many sons crowned with qualities and versed in various lore, for the chance is that one at least of these may repair to Gaya. O son of the Ragu race, the Rajarshis have delivered their decision on the point. Therefore, thou foremost of men, do thou, O Lord, rescue thy sire from hell. O Bharata, go to Ayodhya, and please the subjects, in company with Satrufna, O hero, and all the regenerate ones. I also, O hero, without delay shall have to enter the forest of Dandaka in company with Lakshmana and Sita. O Bharata, be thou thyself the monarch of men, I shall become the king of kings of deer. Go thou to that foremost of cities with a glad heart will I enter Dandaka. O Bharata, let the umbrella barring out the rays of the sun, afford cool shade unto thy head, I shall happily seek the dense shade of these forest trees. Satrufna endued with cleverness is thy helper, Sumitra's son is well known as my best friend. We 4 worthy sons of that foremost of monarchs will keep him established in truth, O Bharata. Let not thy mind despond. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 108. As Rama cognizant of righteousness was thus encouraging Bharata, Javali, best of Brahmanas, addressed him in words divorced from morality, saying, O Raghava, endowed with a noble understanding and leading a life of asceticism, do not suffer thy intellect to entertain inanities, like any low person. Who is whose friend? And to what is one entitled, and by virtue of what relation? And who is such? Since a creature is born alone and dies alone, a person that cherishes his father and mother with affection must, O Rama, be looked upon as a madman. No individual hath any one in this world. As on the eve of setting out for another country, a person stays somewhere, outside the village he lives in, and the next day goes away, renouncing that abode, even such are a man's father and mother, house and wealth. O Kakuchta, worthy people never bear affection towards a mere abode. Therefore, O best of men, leaving thy ancestral kingdom, thou ought not to abide in the disagreeable forest filled with dangers and difficulties. Do thou get thyself sprinkled in the prosperous Ayodhya. The city expects thee wearing a single woven braid. O king's son, enjoying costly regal pleasures, do thou sport in Ayodhya, like Sakra in the celestial regions. Dasaratha is none unto thee, and thou too art none unto Dasaratha. He is quite other than thy sire, and thou hast no connection with him. Therefore, do thou act as I tell thee. A father is merely an instrumental cause, touching the generation of his child. A father's semen coming in contact with a mother's blood, at the time befitting conception, a person is brought into being. The king hath gone the way he should. This is the nature of all creatures. But thou for naught deniest thyself the manliness of monarchical power. Those that disregarding interest are devoted to virtue, do I mourn, and not others, for having suffered misery here, they in the end meet with extinction. People engage in ashtaka in behalf of ancestors and deities. Behold the waste of edibles. Doth any dead person feed? If food partaken by one is transferred to the body of another, offer shraddha unto one going to a distant land, and that shall serve for his provender on the way. Works, on morality, enjoining, worship, give away, be initiated, observe rites, renounce, have been composed by intelligent persons, for inducing people to be charitable. O magnanimous one, assure thyself there is no hereafter. Do thou remain grounded in the evident, turning thy back on what is beyond our ken. Placing in front the intellect of the good, and approved by all, do thou, propitiated by Bharata, accept the monarchy. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 109. Hearing Javali's words, Rama having truth for prowess, by help of an exceedingly subtle intellect uninfluenced, under the exhortations of that sage, said, What thou, wishing for my welfare, hast dwelt upon, though wearing the guise of a good action, is really not such, and though appearing to be beneficent, is really calculable to entail misery. The person that with his sinful acts sticking to him, walketh astray, as well as he that holdeth up, unto others, different patterns of character, from those recommended by Scripture, doth not win honor with the good. One's character, fashioned according to Scripture, shows whether one is high-born or base, heroic or vainly priding himself on his manliness, pure or impure. But by adopting the code of conduct inculcated by thee, a mean character may appear as a noble one bereft of purity may appear pure, an inauspicious individual may seem auspicious, and one of vile ways may appear honest. If I adopt this unrighteous course, calculated to produce confusion of castes, and do acts not recognized by Scripture, I shall, renouncing good, have to reap only evil. Then what man possessed of consciousness and capable of discriminating between right and wrong, shall honor me, given to wicked ways and deserving of universal reprehension? Whose is this course, that thou askest me to follow? And by what way shall I attain heaven, by following the present course, which would make me give up my vow? When I have, first, myself set up desire as my standard of action, the entire body of the people shall follow me, subjects take to the ways that have been adopted by their sovereigns. This eternal regal morality founded in kindness towards the subjects, is verily true. Hence a kingdom is essentially based upon truth, and this world itself is established in truth. Saints and celestials for certain regard truth alone. In this world a truthful person attains the regions of Brahma. Untruthful persons harass people as much as serpents. In this world virtue, which is said to be the root of everything, is itself established in truth. In this world, truth is the Lord, and truth is established righteousness. Everything hath truth for its basis. No condition is superior to truth. The Veda, which inculcates gift, sacrifice, homa, and asceticism, is based on truth. One protects men, another his family, one is plunged in hell, another is honored in heaven. Why should I not then obey the mandate of my father? My father was of truthful promise and of righteous ways, and with the object of observing his promise, he laid on me this, for faithful performance. Having promised to my superior with an oath, I shall never through covetousness or forgetfulness or pride rive the bridge of truth. We have heard that the gods and the Pitris do not accept offerings from one inclined to untruth, or who is unsteady and of volatile faculties. This duty of maintaining truth, whose influence radiates all over one's soul, I certainly find to be the prime one, and this burthen hath, ere this, been borne by worthy people. And it is for this that I reverence the same. I abjure that Kshatriya morality which, wearing the garb of righteousness, is in fact impiety, and which is pursued by the low-minded, or the wicked, or the covetous, or the sinful. A person commits a sin by means of his physique, but after he hath accurately cast it in his mind, and he hath also spoken an untruth with his tongue. Thus a sin is threefold. The earth and fame and renown and auspiciousness pay court unto the truthful person. The good follow truth, therefore even truth is to be sought, by all. Therefore the seemingly excellent thing that thou, after having well ascertained it, hast said unto me in words and formed with reason, thou hadst rather do this, appears to me wanting in nobility. How, after having promised unto my superior this exile of mine, shall I act up to Bharata's words, setting aside those of my superior? I having remained firm in the promise I had made unto my superior, that noble lady, Kaikeyi, became exceedingly delighted. Living in the forest, pure, with regulated fare, I shall, propitiating the gods and the Pitris with fruits, flowers, and roots, fulfill my vow. Satisfying the 5 classes, I shall, retaining my simplicity and my religious faith, and being able to distinguish between right and wrong, pass away the term of banishment. Having come to this scene of action, one should do that which is proper. Even Agni and Vayu and Soma reap the fruits of their own acts. Having acquired the appellation of Sadakratu, the sovereign of the celestials hath gone to heaven, and, having performed rigid austerities, the Maharshis have attained the celestial regions. Having heard of the reasons couched in that atheistical speech which he could not allow to pass without stricture, that one of fierce energy, the king's son, censuring what Javali had said, again spoke, truth, righteousness, prowess, kindness to creatures, fair-spokenness, and worship of the twice-born ones, gods and guests, these have by the pious been styled the ways to heaven. Having duly heard that these are capable of conferring the summum bonum, and also come to the same conclusion by reasoning, vipers, adequately and completely observing morality with the utmost care, are eagerly desirous of attaining those regions. I blame this act of my father's, viz., that he took, for his priest, one of perverse understanding, who rangeth by help of such an intellect, who is frightfully atheistic, and who hath swerved from the path of righteousness. As a thief is, so is a Buddha, and know that in this matter, an atheist is in a like predicament. Therefore, such an one, when capable of being punished like a thief for the good of the people, should be punished like a thief, and let no Brahmana ever speak with an atheist. Other Brahmanas than thyself, superior to thee, have, serving this world as well as the next, performed various excellent acts. Therefore those Brahmanas, amen, who have spared life and in other ways practiced morality, and have also given away in charity, performed austerities and served others, performed sacrifices in consonance with Vedas, and principal ascetics engaged in religion, surrounded by the good, possessed of energy, having charity for their foremost attribute, void of envy, and their hearts free from all stain, are honored in this world. When the magnanimous Rama of undiminished strength had wrathfully said this, that Vipar with supplications again spoke words fraught with morality and high spiritual truth. I do not speak the language of atheists, nor am I an atheist, nor yet is it true that there is nothing hereafter. On the occasion of things having reference to the next world being performed, I am again a believer, and on the occasion of things connection with this world being taken in hand, I am an atheist once again. O Rama, the time has gradually drawn nigh when for the purpose of making thee turn back, it is necessary that I should speak the language of atheism. But pacifying thee, I have, again, spoken this, i.e., I am a believer. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 110. Knowing that Rama was wroth, Vasishtha said, Javali knoweth the departure of creatures to the next world and their return thence. Anxious of making thee turn back, he had spoken thus. Do thou now, O Lord of the world, learn the genesis of creatures from me. Water was everywhere. The earth was constructed therein. Then sprang the self-create Brahma along with all the celestials. Having become a boar, he raised up the earth, and along with his sons of subdued souls created everything. Brahma eternal, existing through all time and incapable of decay, sprang from the sky. From him Marichi came into being, and Kasyapa is Marichi's son. Vivasvat drew his birth from Kasyapa, and Manu from Vivasvat. Manu was formerly known as Prajapati. Ikshwaku is son unto Manu, and this world was first conferred upon Ikshwaku by Manu. Do thou know Ikshwaku as the first king in Ayodhya? The graceful Kukshi is known as the son of Ikshwaku. And, O hero, Kukshi's son was Vikukshi. Vikukshi had the powerful Vana possessed of exceeding energy for his son. Vana had the mighty armed Anaranya of high austerities for his son. During the time of that foremost of righteous persons, the monarch Anaranya, drought or famine did not occur in Ayodhya, nor were there any thieves at that time. O mighty king, from Anaranya sprang King Prithu. From Prithu sprang Trisanku of mighty energy. This hero by virtue of his truth-telling went to heaven in person. Trisanku had the famous Dundumara for his son, and from Dundumara Juvanasya was born. Juvanasya's son was the handsome Mandhata, and from Mandhata Susandi came into being. Susandi had 2 sons, Dhruvasandi and Prasnajit. Dhruvasandi had the illustrious Bharata, destroyer of foes, for his son. From Bharata sprang Sita, to whom sprang these hostile kings as foes, Harhayas, Talajangas and Sasavindis, heroes all. Having engaged with them in battle, the king was excited by them. And on the romantic Himavat, he became engaged in asceticism. It is said that at the time, his 2 wives were gone with child. There one of the exalted ladies having eyes resembling lotus petals saluted Bhrigu's son, furnished with the splendor of a celestial, desirous of having an excellent son. Another administered poison unto the other for destroying her fetus. Bhrigu's son, named Ravana, was at that time staying in Himavat. Appearing before the sage, Kalandi saluted him. Thereupon he returned the greeting that had been made by that lady, anxious to secure a boon for the birth of a son. Thou shalt, O lady, get a son of mighty soul, who shall be celebrated among men, and who shall be pious and powerful, the perpetuator of his race and destroyer of enemies. Hearing this, that noble lady, having gone round him and paid in respect unto the ascetic, went to her home and gave birth to a son, furnished with eyes resembling lotus petals, and of sheen like that of the inside of a lotus. And because her co-wife had given her poison for destroying her fetus, and as in consequence of this he had come in contact with poison, he came to be called Sagara. The name of that king is Sagara, who having been initiated in a sacrifice excavated the ocean, frightening the people with the vehemence of his operations. Asamanja is known to have been the son of Sagara. This wicked man, while yet in life, was banished by his father. Asamanja's son was the puissant Ansamat. Dilapa is the son of Ansamat, and Dilapa's son is Bhagirtha. From Bhajaratha sprang Kakusta, from whom the Kakustas came to be well known. Kakusta had Raghu for his son, after whom have been named the Raghvas. Raghu's son is the energetic Pravrta, who ate human beings. He is known on earth under such names as Kalmashapada, Sadesa. We have heard that Kalmashapada's son was Sankhana, who having been endowed with prowess, found destruction along with his forces. Sankhana's son was the beautiful and heroic Sudarsana. Sudarsana's son was Agnivarna, and Agnivarna's Sagraga. Sagraga's son was Maru, and Maru's Prasasruvas. Prasasruva's son was the magnanimous Amvarisha. Amvarisha's son was Nahusha, having truth for his prowess. Nahusha's son was the exceedingly virtuous Nabhaga. Nabhaga had 2 sons, Aya and Suvrata. Aya's son was the virtuous king Dasaratha. His eldest son art thou celebrated under the name of Rama. Do thou receive thy own kingdom and look after the world. Among the Ikshwakus, the firstborn becomes the sovereign. The firstborn existing, an inferior son cannot be installed in the kingdom. It therefore doth not today behove thee to depart from the ever-existing morality of the descendants of Raghu. Do thou rule this earth filled with gems, and furnished with high fame, do thou like unto a father governor containing many kingdoms. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 111. Having thus addressed Rama, the royal priest Vasishtha again spoke unto him words fraught with righteousness, saying, Unto a man born there are 3 superiors, viz., the preceptor, O Kakutstha, and father and mother, O Raghva. O foremost of men, the father begets a person, the preceptor imparts wisdom, and therefore is he called a superior. I, O subduer of foes, have been the preceptor of both thyself and thy father. By doing what I say, thou wilt not lose the state of the righteous. These courtiers of thine, these relatives, and these kings, by protecting them virtuously thou wilt not lose the state of the righteous. It doth not behove thee to disregard the words of thy aged and virtuous mother. By doing her bidding thou wilt not lose the state of the righteous. O Raghva, by acting as Bharata, who is soliciting thee, says, thou having the morality of truth for thy prowess, wilt not be frustrated of the state of the pious. Thus sweetly addressed by his preceptor personally, that foremost of men, Raghva, replied unto Vasishtha, seated with him, saying, what his father and mother always do in behalf of their son, and what they effect by way of provision and sleep and clothing and constant sweat, speech and sport, is difficult of being repaid. Therefore, what my father, King Dasaratha, hath commanded me to do, must not be falsified. Rama having said this, the broad-breasted Bharata, extremely depressed, spoke unto the charioteer who was by, saying, O charioteer, do thou speedily spread Kusa on the ground here. I will remain near the noble one until he be kindly disposed towards me. Even as a twice-born one deprived of his wealth lieth down, at the door of an unrighteous person, eschewing food, and in darkness, will I lie down in front of this cottage, until he betakes himself back to Ayodhya. Then with a dispirited heart, finding Sumantra of looking up to Rama, Bharata himself spread Kusa and lay down upon it. To him spoke that foremost of Rajarshis, the highly energetic Rama, O Bharata, my dear brother, what have I done that thou hast down by me? It is a Brahmana who alone can obstruct a person by lying down beside him, but there is no rule by which a member of the military class can lie down in this wise. O best of men, arise, renouncing this difficult vow, and, O descendant of Raghu, do thou from hence take thyself unto that best of cities, Ayodhya. Being seated, Bharata, eyeing the citizens and the inhabitants of the provinces, remarked, what for do ye not solicit the noble one? Thereupon the citizens and the dwellers of the provinces answered that high-souled one, saying, We perceive that the descendant of Ragu says unto Kakutsta what is fit, and this exceedingly virtuous one stayeth by the words of his sire. Therefore we are incapable of suddenly saying anything. Hearing their speech, Rama said, Listen to the words of these friends having morality for their vision. And, O scion of the Ragu race, hearing their utterances as regards both thyself and me, do thou decide. Arise, thou mighty armed one. Touch me and then water. Thereat arising, Bharata, having touched water, said, Ye courtiers, and ye ministers, listen to me. I did not wish for my paternal kingdom, nor did I sway my mother, towards obtaining the same, nor did I know that the exceedingly righteous Raghava was to seek the woods. But if you must dwell here, and thus act out the mandate of our father, I also will abide in the forest for 14 years. Astonished at the determination of Bharata, the righteous Rama, eyeing the citizens and the inhabitants of the provinces, said, Neither Bharata nor I can annul any sale or pledge or purchase effected by our father during his life. Therefore I ought not to accept any substitute for living in the woods, who can but contribute to my censure. Kakeyi hath spoken what is proper, and my father hath acted well. I know Bharata to be forgiving, and given to serving superiors. Everything in that high-souled one intent on truth appeareth beneficial. Having returned from the forest, I will in company with this brother of virtuous character, become the worthy master of this earth. The king having been made by Kakeyi to consent to her proposal, I have done as she told me. Do thou by acting in the way calculated to free that lord of the earth, our father, from the debt of promise, do so. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 112. Observing the meeting of the two brothers of unparalleled energy, capable of making one's hair stand on end, the Maharshis struck with surprise came to the scene. And remaining invisible, the ascetics, siddhas and prime saints admired those brothers, the virtuous Kakutstas. Blessed is he whose sons these, two cognizant of virtue and having truth for prowess are. Having heard their converse, we are delighted. Then the saints, desirous of the destruction of the ten-headed one, having become unanimous, speedily addressed that foremost of monarchs, Bharata, saying, Born in an illustrious line, endued with high wisdom, of high character and high fame, thou shouldst accept Rama's words, if thou hast a care for the happiness of thy sire. We wish that Rama may always act truthfully in respect of his father. By virtue of his truth connected with Kakeyi, Dasaratha hath gone to heaven. Having said this, the Gandharbhas, Maharshis, and Rajarshis each went to his proper quarter. Having paid homage unto those saints, Rama, possessed of a gracious presence, hearing their words, was filled with joy, and looked lovely with his delightful countenance. But with his frame agitated, with emotion, Bharata with joined hands again addressed Raghava in words faltering, with feeling, O Rama, taking into account the morality of this race, it behoves thee to act in accordance with the solicitations of my mother, and thine. I do not venture to govern this vast kingdom alone, or please the citizens and the inhabitants of the provinces attached unto thee. And as husbandmen remain expecting rain, our kindred, and warriors and friends and adherents wait in expectation of thee. O exceedingly wise one, accepting the kingdom, do thou place it in the hands of some person. O Kakutsta, whomsoever thou wilt choose for performing this office, will surely prove strong enough to govern the people. Having said this, Bharata fell at his brother's feet, and sweetly addressing him, O Raghava, solicited him once again. Tagging on his lap that sable-hued one furnished with eyes resembling lotus leaves, Rama with a voice like that of a mad swan, spoke unto Bharata, Thou hast at length attained the mental attitude that is natural and that also comes of the training one receives at the hands of his preceptor. And, brother, thou venturest greatly to protect the earth. Taking counsel with courtiers, adherents, and intelligent ministers, do thou achieve grand tasks. Even if beauty forsaketh the moon, or Himavad his snow, or the ocean overleaps its shores, I shall not forsake the promise of my sire. And, my brother, thou ought not to cherish in thy mind what thy mother, incited by covetousness or affection for thee, hath done, and thou should act by her as one should by one's mother. When Rama, resembling the sun in energy and like the moon of Pratapat in appearance, had said this, Bharata said unto the son of Kausalya, O noble one, do thou take off thy feet thy sandals adorned with gold. These shall protect what the people have got and secure unto thee what they lack. Thereupon taking off his sandals, that highly energetic one gave them to the magnanimous Bharata. Bharata, bowing down unto the sandals, said, O hero, for 4 and 10 years shall I, wearing matted locks and bark, and subsisting upon fruits and roots, O scion of the Ragu race, expecting thy arrival, remain outside the city, having, O subduer of foes, made over the task of government unto thy sandals. And, foremost of Ragus, if after the completion of the 14 years, I do not see thee, I shall enter into fire. Promising, so be it, and affectionately embracing Bharata, and also embracing Satrughna, Rama said, Do thou protect thy mother Kaki. Do not be angry with her. Both Janaki and I conjure thee to do this, O descendant of Raghu. Having said this, he forsook his brother, with tears in his eyes. Then accepting those burnished and garnished sandals, Bharata versed in morality circumambulated Raghava, and placed the sandals on the head of an excellent elephant. Then having one by one honored that assembly, and his preceptor and the counselors, and the subjects and his younger brothers, perpetuator of the Raghu race, steady in his own duty like Himavad itself, took leave of them. His mothers with their throats invaded by the vapor of grief could not from distress of heart say aught unto him. And Rama also having paid homage unto all of them, weeping entered his own cottage. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 113. Then taking the pair of sandals on his head, Bharata in company with Satrughna well pleased, ascended the car. And Vasishtha, and Vamadeva, and Javali steady in his vow, as well as the ministers, honored on account of their counsels, went before. And going round the charming Mandakini, thou went eastwards, circumambulating, at the same time, the mighty hill, Chitrakuta. And beholding various kinds of beautiful minor elves by thousands. Bharata accompanied by his army went by the side of the hill. At a short distance from Chitrakuta, Bharata beheld the spot where the ascetic Bharadvaja had built his habitation. Approaching the asylum, the puissant Bharata descended from the car, and the son of Raghu then paid homage unto the saint's feet. Thereat Bharadvaja well pleased said, Hast thou, my child, on meeting with Rama, done what it behoved thee to do? Thus addressed by the intelligent Bharadvaja, Bharata attached to righteousness answered the former, saying, Solicited by our preceptor as well as by myself, Raghava of steady prowess highly pleased spoke unto Vasishtha, I would faithfully perform my father's promise for 14 years, for even this is the promise of my father. Thus accosted, the eminently wise Vasishtha skilled in speech replied unto Raghava in these pregnant words, Do thou well pleased confer, on Bharata, thy sandals decked in gold. Thereby, O exceedingly wise one, thou wilt be able to protect what the people have and secure unto them what they have not. Thus addressed by Vasishtha, Raghava facing the east, conferred on me his sandals decked in gold, in order that I might carry on the government of the kingdom. Commanded by the magnanimous Rama, I retrace my steps. I will go to Ayodhya, taking the sandals along with me. Hearing these auspicious words of the high-souled Bharata, the ascetic Bharadvaja said unto Bharata, It is no wonder that Rama hath acted nobly by thee, foremost among men and possessed of an excellent character and disposition, even as water poured out, floweth downwards. Thy father Dasaratha hath become freed from his debts, since he hath a son like unto thee, righteous and attached to virtue. When the ascetic had said this, Bharata with joined palms paid his respects unto that highly wise one, by taking hold of his feet. And after having again and again gone round Bharadvaja, the graceful Bharata went to Ayodhya accompanied by his counselors. And returning by means of cars and carts, horses and elephants, that army marching in the wake of Bharata, spread wide. And after having crossed the beautiful river Yamuna flowing in waves, they again beheld the river Ganga of auspicious waters. And having along with his friend crossed over that river filled with beautiful waters, Bharata together with his army entered the charming city of Sringava. And from the city of Sringava he went to Ayodhya and again beheld it. And seeing Ayodhya bereft of his father and mother, Bharata burning in grief, said unto the charioteer, O charioteer, behold that Ayodhya, which shorn of its splendor and decorations, and plunged in grief, forlorn and silent, doth not appear delightful. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 114. Arriving by means of a car emitting a low and solemn sound, that lord, the highly famous Bharata speedily entered Ayodhya, ranged by cats and owls, with the doors of the people's dwellings remaining closed, like a night enveloped in darkness, gloomy, and invisible, resembling the beloved wife of Rahu's enemy, Rohini, brilliant with the luster of the latter, when she is forlorn in consequence of her lover being afflicted by that planet, like unto a mountain stream shrunk up, having its waters turbid and slightly heated, and its fowls burning in the heat, and with its fishes, alligators, and other aquatic animals rendered lean, resembling a flame of fire devoid of smoke and streaming up in golden splendor, next sprinkled with clarified butter, and lastly appearing with its crest extinguished, with armor scattered all round, and sick elephants and horses and cars and standards, and heroes lying dead, in distress, like unto an army in a mighty encounter, resembling the silent ripples of the ocean raised by the gentle breeze, which ere now, in the shapes of surges, were heaving, brimming over with foam and sending forth roars, like a silent dais after the sacrifice is over, without the sacrificial appurtenances, without worthy priests, like unto the wife of a youthful ox, exercised with anxiety on having been forsaken by her favorite ox, staying in distress in a pen, abstaining from fresh grass, like unto a string of new pearls divorced from noble, mild gleaming rubies, and Other excellent gems, like a star on the expiration of its virtue, moving from its place, and dislodged from heaven, dropping to the earth with its brightness contracted, like a blossoming creeper at the end of spring with maddened bramars suddenly rendered nerveless in consequence of being caught by a forest fire. With her merchants plunged in grief, and her shops and stalls closed, like the welkin covered with clouds, and having its moon and stars hid, like an unclean, uncovered spot used for drinking, with all the wine drained, and scattered with broken bowls, and with the tipplers lying dead, like unto a reservoir with its terrace riven, filled with broken pots, and lying with its pillars crushed, like a long strong bowstring fixed on a bow furnished with nooses, falling off the bow to the ground, being snapped in consequence of the pressure of the arrow, like a mare, suddenly urged on by a rider skilled in battle, lying, on the ground, having been slain by the hostile forces. That son of Dasaratha, the beauteous Bharata, while proceeding on his car, addressed the charioteer as he drove that best of cars, saying, "Why do I not hear as formerly the solemn sounds of song and instrumental music spreading on all sides in Ayodhya? And there doth not breathe around the aroma of liquor, or the perfume of garlands, or the incense of a guru and sandal. And on Rama being banished, in this city is not heard the mild neighing of steeds, the rattle of vehicles, the roar of mad elephants, or the mighty clatter of arms. And on Rama having repaired to the forest, youthful folk stricken with sorrow do not enjoy the incense of a guru and sandal, or costly fresh chaplets. And persons bearing variegated garlands do not walk abroad, and no festivities are celebrated in the city stricken with grief on account of Rama. Surely, the grace of the city hath gone away with my brother. Surely, that Ayodhya doth not look beautiful like an autumnal night with showers pouring down. When shall my brother, coming hither like a carnival, gladden all hearts in Ayodhya like rain in summer? And the highways shall be graced with young people elegantly attired and bearing themselves bravely in Ayodhya." Having said this in grief, Bharata in company with the charioteer entered Ayodhya and immediately went to the residence of his father, bereft of that foremost of men, like a cavern bereft of its lion. Seeing the inner apartment shorn of its splendor, like a day deprived of the sun, mourned by the deities, and everywhere unclean, the self-possessed Bharata, mowed by grief, began to drop tears. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 115. Having placed his mothers in Ayodhya, Bharata steady in his vow, kindling in grief, said unto his preceptors, "I shall go to Nandagrama, and therefore greet you all. There I shall suffer all this grief on account of Rama's absence. The king hath gone to heaven, and my superior is staying in the woods. I shall remain in expectation of Rama, assuming the reins of government. Verily that illustrious one is the king." Hearing this excellent speech of the high-souled Bharata, the counselors as well as the priest Vasishtha said, "What, O Bharata, influenced by affection for thy brother thou sayest, is worthy of thee and is highly commendable. Who will not endorse what hath fallen from thee, ever engaged in serving thy friends, established in fraternal love, and who hast entered upon a noble course?" Having heard the words of the counselors acceptable and welcome, Bharata said unto the charioteer, "Do thou yoke my car." Then, with a cheerful countenance having spoken to his mothers, that graceful one ascended the car in company with Satrufna. Having swiftly ascended the car, both Satrufna and Bharata, right glad at heart, set out, surrounded by counselors and priests. And going ahead, all the preceptors headed by Vasishtha proceeded eastwards, in which direction lay Nandagrama. And the forces, filled with elephants and horses and cars, although not called, set out on Bharata proceeding, as well as all the citizens. And ascending the car, the virtuous Bharata attached unto his brother, speedily went to Nandagrama, holding the sandals of Rama on his head. Then entering Nandagrama in a short time, Bharata swiftly alighted from the car and addressed his preceptors, saying, "This monarchy hath been consigned unto me as a trust, and these gold-decked sandals shall carry on the work of government, protecting what the people have and securing unto them what they have not." Then bowing unto the sandals which represented the trust, Bharata burning in grief addressed the entire body of the subjects, saying, "Do ye speedily hold the umbrella over these sandals. These represent the dear feet of the exalted one. Through these sandals of my superior will be established the regal morality of the kingdom. This kingdom from love hath been conferred on me as a trust, therefore I shall govern it until Radva comes. Again speedily putting these sandals on Radva's feet, I shall behold them with the sandals on. On Radva coming back, I shall, my burden being cast upon him, making over the kingdom unto him, engage myself in serving my superior. And having rendered unto Radva the trust in the shape of these sandals, this kingdom, and Ayodhya, I shall be washed from my sin." Henceforth wearing bark and matted locks, and in the guise of an ascetic, the heroic Bharata dwelt in Nandagrama along with his forces. Having consigned all rule unto the sandals, Bharata himself held the umbrella and the chowri furnished with hair. And the graceful Bharata, having installed the sandals of the noble one, always carried on the government in subordination to them. Ramayana, Kanda 2, section 116. On Bharata having returned, while Rama was dwelling in the woods, he noticed a fright among the ascetics, added to a desire to remove to another place. And those ascetics that were living happily in the asylum in Chitrakuta, relying upon Rama for their protection, he found to be wrought up with anxiety. And by means of signs by the eye and contractions of the brow, they, afflicted with fear, were, alluding to Rama, slowly speaking to each other. Perceiving their anxiety, Rama, apprehensive of himself, with joined hands addressed the patriarchal ascetic, saying, O reverend one, do ye find me deviating from the path of former sovereigns, or acting contrary to their practice, which hath perplexed the minds of these ascetics? Have the sages seen my younger brother, the high-souled Lakshmana, do anything from inadvertence that is unworthy of him? Doth not Sita engaged in serving you, having to serve me, now minister unto you as a woman should? Thereat a certain aged and decrepit ascetic, with his frame trembling, said, Up to Rama ever kind towards creatures, where is the falling off of that one of excellent character, engaged in offices of beneficence, more specially with reference to ascetics? This fear arising from Rakshasas afflicts the ascetics because of thee, and they, extremely agitated, converse with each other on the subject. A Rakshasa named Kara, a younger brother of Ravana, hath been harassing the ascetics dwelling in Janasthana. And Drishta, also a fearless and wicked Rakshasa feeding on human beings, and the unrighteous Avalipta, cannot bear thee, my child. As long, my child, as thou hast been residing in this asylum, the Rakshasas have been plaguing the ascetics. And they show themselves sometimes in disgusting shapes, sometimes in horrible and dreadful ones, and various frightful forms capable of frightening folks. And they throw execrable and unclean things among the anchorites, and torment those that happen to come before them. And they take delight in approaching asylums unperceived, and slaughtering ascetics, after having bound them by means of their arms. And on the occasion of sacrifices, they throw away the vessels containing sacrificial articles, pour water on the sacrificial fire, and break vessels containing water. Eager to renounce this asylum infested by those wicked ones, and removing to another place, the sages today have been exhorting me on the subject. And, O Rama, ere this, those wicked ones have slain ascetics. Therefore we would renounce this asylum. Not far from here is a picturesque wood abounding in fruits and roots. Thither shall I betake myself together with my own folks. Kara shall also annoy thee. If thou think it proper, go hence in company with us. O Raghava, although thou art vigilant, able, and in all ways capable, it would be unpleasant for thee to dwell here now in doubt. When the anxious ascetic had said this, Rama could not console him by his words. Then having paid homage unto Rama, and spoken to him and encouraged Raghava, the patriarch ascetic renouncing the asylum, went away along with his own people. And Rama having, for a time, followed the sage who was departing from that place, and having paid him respects, being permitted by them, well pleased, and advised, as to what it behoved him to do, came to his quarters reposing there. Thenceforth, Raghava never for a moment left that asylum forsaken by the sages, Raghava having such qualities in his character as were likely to stand the sages instead. The ascetics, that remained behind, ever followed Raghava. Ramayana, Kanda 2, section 117. When the ascetics had gone away, Raghava reflected, as to his stay at that place, and from diverse reasons, he did not relish remaining there any further. Here have I seen Bharata and my mother in company with the citizens. Overwhelmed with grief on my account, they ever recur to my memory. And in consequence of the troops of that high-souled one having quartered here as well as the dung discharged by his elephants and horses, this place has got exceedingly dirty. Therefore will I go to another quarter. Having settled this in his mind, Raghava departed along with Videha's daughter and Lakshmana. And having arrived at Atri's asylum, that renowned one paid obeisance unto the sage, and the reverend Atri also on his part received Rama as a son. And having personally given Rama respectful reception and entertainment, the ascetic regarded the exalted Lakshmana and Sita with a gracious eye. And his aged wife having come there, Atri greeted her, and after she had been paid homage, the sage cognizant of virtue ever engaged in the good of all creatures, gladdened her, by presenting Sita unto her. And that best of sages said unto the pious Fetnail ascetic, Ansuya, engaged in offices of virtue, do thou accept Videha's daughter. And Atri related unto Rama matters connected with the female ascetic, engaged in offices of virtue. The people were ceaselessly burning in consequence of a drought extending over 10 years. O sinless one, that one resembling thy mother is this, by whom furnished with rigid asceticism and adorned with voluntary penances, were created fruits and roots, and the Jahnavi was made to flow through the asylum, by whom were performed mighty austerities for 10,000 years, in virtue of whose penances, disturbances to the asceticism of the sages ceased, by whom 10 nights were brought within the compass of a single one. Let Vaidehi always resort to this aged ascetic devoid of anger, who is worthy of being bowed down to by all creatures. When the saint had spoken thus, Raghav saying, So be it, turned his eyes to Sita, and thus spoke unto that one knowing morality, O princess, thou hast heard what hath been uttered by the ascetic. For the sake of thy own welfare, do thou speedily resort to the female anchoret. Do thou without delay resort unto the ascetic Ansuya, who is worthy of being associated with, and who hath by virtue of her acts attained renown among men. Hearing these words of Raghava, Mithila's daughter, the illustrious Sita, drew near the righteous wife of Atri. Thereupon Sita, announcing her name, saluted the pious and chaste Ansuya, old, with slackened joints, with folds all over her skin, and her hair hoary from age, whose frame shook perpetually, like a plantain leaf in the wind. Having paid homage unto that ascetic with her senses subdued, Vaidehi glad at heart, with joined hands, inquired after her welfare. Seeing the virtuous Sita engaged in righteous acts, the old lady consoling her, said, By luck it is that thou regardest righteousness. O Sita, having left thy kindred, and banishing pride, thou hast, O honored lady, followed Rama staying in the woods. They that love their husbands, whether living in the city or the forest, whether well or ill disposed towards them, attain great state. Wicked, or libidinous, or indigent, a husband is a supreme deity unto a wife of noble character. Then the husband a greater friend find I none, O Vaidehi, who is worthy of being served both in this world and the next, and who is like imperishable asceticism. But bad women whose hearts hunger after carnality, and who lord over their husbands, do not get acquainted with the virtues and demerits of their husbands, and range at their will. Mithila's daughter, surely women of this sort who are given to doing evil acts, reap infamy and fall off from righteousness. But worthy women like thee furnished with excellences, see a superior and better world, and range the celestial regions, like pious people. Therefore following this one, and adopting the course of chaste women, do thou prove the associate in virtue of thy husband, and then shalt thou attain both fame and religious merit. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 118. Thus addressed by Ansuya, Vaidehi devoid of malice, honoring her words, began, That thou shouldst instruct me is no wonder in thee. I know that a woman's spiritual guide is her husband. Even if a husband should be poor and of a disreputable character, he should be ungrudgingly obeyed by the like of me. And to be said of one that is crowned with qualities, kind, self-controlled, of steady affection, righteous-souled, and who is dear as a father or a mother. The exceedingly strong Rama beareth himself towards the other wives of the monarch as he doth towards Kausalya herself. Renouncing sense of self-importance, that heroic one conversant with righteousness, devoted to his king, regardeth as his mothers those on whom the monarch once cast his eyes. What my mother-in-law instructed me at the time that I was leaving for the lonely and fearful forest is constantly present in my mind. And what also my mother taught me in presence of fire on the occasion of the bestowal of my hand is also remembered by me. And, O thou engaged in acts of righteousness, I have not forgotten the words that my relatives said unto me, viz., the asceticism of a woman is ministering unto her husband. They did not teach anything else. Having served her lord, Savitri is highly honored in heaven, and thou also, following the same course, by virtue of having served thy husband, hath secured heaven. And this foremost of females, this goddess of heaven, Rohini, is not seen for a moment without the moon. And prime women of this sort, firm in their husbands, are highly respected in the celestial regions by virtue of their pious acts. Hearing Sita's words, Ansuya, exceedingly delighted, smelling her head, spoke thus, pleasing mightily, by observing restrictions, I have earned great asceticism. By resorting to that energy, I would, O Sita, confer a boon upon thee, O thou of pure vows. O mightily, thy words are just and proper. I am well pleased with thee. Tell me, O Sita, what good shall I do thee? Hearing her words, Sita, surprised, said with a smile, unto that lady equipped with ascetic strength, all this hath been done by thee. Thus accosted, that one cognizant of virtue, was still more pleased, and said, I am exceedingly pleased with thy words. I will attain a desire of mine. This noble and grand garland, this apparel, these ornaments, and this precious paste for adorning the person, presented by me, let these, O Sita, grace thy person. These, worthy of thee, will never be tarnished. O daughter of Janaka, daubing thy person with this excellent paint, thou wilt grace thy husband even as Shri doth the undeteriorating Vishnu. Thereupon Mithila's daughter accepted those things presented unto her out of love, viz., the apparel, the paint, the ornaments, and the garland. Having accepted those presents conferred on her from love, that illustrious one, Sita, quietly sat beside the female ascetic with joined hands. Then as Sita was sitting, Ansuya firm in vow asked her concerning a thing that was near her heart, saying, I have heard, O Sita, that thou wert won by the renowned Raghava on the occasion of a self-choice. O mightily, that story I should like to hear, related at length. It therefore behoves thee to relate that unto me in detail. Thus addressed, Sita, saying unto the ascetic engaged in pious acts, Listen, began to tell the story. Mithila's lord, the heroic Janaka, justly ruleth the earth, engaged in observing the duties of Kshatriyas. As he was plowing a plain intended for a sacrifice, I rose from under the earth, and, in this sense, I am the daughter of that king. Tending me, with my body covered with dust, Janaka, engaged in throwing handfuls of dust to level hollow spots, was struck with amazement. Being childless, he took me on his lap from affection, and saying, This is my daughter, conceived affection for me. Then there were uttered words in the welkin, resembling those of a human being, O king, in all righteousness, this is thy daughter. Then well pleased, my righteous father, the king, lord of Mithila, receiving me, attained mighty good fortune. Consigned unto the pious eldest noble one, queen, desirous of having offspring, I was brought up by that mild lady, with the tenderness of a mother. In time, seeing me fit for the company of a husband, my father in distress was plunged in thought, like a poor man that hath lost his wealth. Even if the father of a girl be like unto Sakra himself on earth, he reapeth odium at the hands of his equals and inferiors. Perceiving this obloquy at a short distance, the king was plunged in a sea of anxiety, but could not cross it, like one that hath no raft. Knowing me as unborn from any female vessel, the Lord of earth, reflecting upon it, could not come upon a suitable and fit husband for me. Then as he reflected, this thought occurred to him, I will righteously celebrate the self-choice of my daughters. In the great sacrifice of Diksha, the high-souled Varuna had well pleased conferred on Devarata an excellent bow with inexhaustible arrows and a couple of quivers. Incapable of being moved on account of its weight, the kings could not even dream of bending the bow. Having obtained the bow, my truthful father said, No fear, inviting at the same time the kings to an assembly of sovereigns. He that, raising the bow, shall string it, shall doubtless receive my daughter for his wife. Seeing that best of bows and weight resembling a hill, the kings saluting it, go away, unable to move it. And it came to pass that after a long time, this highly effulgent Raghava came to witness the sacrifice in company with Viswamitra. And Rama having truth for his prowess, and the righteous Viswamitra were respectfully received by my sire. Then Viswamitra said unto my father, The descendants of Raghu, sons of Dasaratha, Rama and Lakshmana, are anxious to behold the bow. Thus accosted by the Vipra, my father brought the bow, and showed that celestial bow unto the princes. Thereupon, in the twinkling of an eye, bending it, the powerful Raghava stringed the bow and drew it. And as he drew it vehemently, it broke in the middle in twain. And the sound of it was dreadful like unto the bursting of a thunderbolt. Then raising an excellent vessel of water, my truthful father prepared to bestow me on Raghava. And bestowed on Raghava, I was accepted of him, after he had consulted the wish of his father, that lord, the master of Ayodhya. And inviting my father-in-law, the old king Dasaratha, my father bestowed me on Rama, having a knowledge of self. And my father bestowed on Lakshmana for his wife, my younger sister, the beauteous and chaste Urmila. Thus was I bestowed on Rama on the occasion of that self-choice. And ever since I have been devoted unto my husband, the foremost of those possessing prowess. Ramayana, Kanda 2, Section 119. Having heard this grand story, Ansuya, cognizant of righteousness, smelling the head of Mithila's daughter, embraced Sita with her arms. I have heard all that thou, describing the self-choice, hast spoken sweetly and beautifully in articulated letters and feet. O sweet-speeched one, I have been delighted with thy narration. But ushering in the auspicious night, the graceful sun hath set. And there are heard the notes of feathered ones, which, after having gone about in search of food, are resting now for the purpose of sleeping. And these ascetics having bathed, are wending their way in a body, carrying water pitchers, their barks drenched with water. And the smoke arising from the fire sacrifice duly performed by the ascetics, reddish like the hue of the pigeon's neck, is seen, wafted by the wind. And trees of spare foliage appear dense, on all sides, and distance is no longer perceptible. And animals ranging in the night are going about all round, and those deer of the asylum are reposing on the daisies. O Sita, the night crested by the stars hath arrived, and, veiled in moonlight, appeareth the moon in the heavens. Go thou, I permit thee. Do thou seek the society of Rama? I have been pleased with thy sweet converse. And, O daughter of Mithila, do thou deck thyself before me. Do thou thus please me, my child, thou that lookest beautiful with excellent ornaments. Thereat, having adorned herself, Sita, resembling the daughter of a celestial, bowing down to the feet of the female ascetic, directed her steps towards Rama. And that best of speakers, Radva, saw Sita, decked with the ornaments affectionately presented by the ascetic, and he rejoiced thereat. Then Mithila's daughter, Sita, related unto Rama all about her having been affectionately presented by the ascetic with attire, ornaments, and the garland. Thereupon, witnessing the honor that had been accorded unto mightily, rare among men, Rama became well pleased, as also that mighty car warrior, Lakshmana. Then Raghu's son, ministered unto by the ascetic, happily spent the delightful night there, with her face resembling the moon. On the night having passed away, those foremost of men, after performing their ablutions, inquired of the ascetics performing fire sacrifices, who lived in the forest. Thereat the righteous ascetics ranging the forest said that all the sides of the forest were infested by Rakshasas. Ferocious beasts feasting on blood, and Rakshasas, O Radva, living on human beings, wearing various shapes, abide in this mighty forest. These eat up ascetics leading the Brahmacharya mode of life, who happen to be unclean or heedless. Do thou, therefore, O Radva, let them. This is the path of the Maharshis, who procure fruits in the forest. By this way thou wilt be able to enter the impracticable wild, O Radva. Thus addressed by the ascetic twice-born ones, and having been blessed by them, that represser of foes, Radva, entered the forest in company with his wife and Lakshmana, like the sun entering a mass of clouds. End of Ayodhya Kanda.